Do you know that your mind has the power to connect with a quantum field of limitless possibilities? Jacobo Grinberg's quantum field theory reveals how your thoughts and intentions interact with this field, shaping the reality you experience. In this video, we'll uncover powerful lessons from Grinberg's groundbreaking research and how you can apply them to manifest wealth and abundance in your life. From aligning your energy to rewiring your beliefs about money, these insights can transform your financial reality. Watch till the end to learn practical techniques and unlock the secrets to attracting prosperity and limitless opportunities. Number 1. Collapsing time to accelerate results. Let's dive into this idea of collapsing time, which, at first, might sound like some sci-fi movie jargon. But in the context of wealth and abundance, especially when viewed through the lens of Grinberg's quantum field theory, it's about hacking the traditional timeline of cause and effect. Instead of playing life's game step by step, you leap straight to the good stuff, bypassing unnecessary delays. Sounds cool, right? But how do we actually make that happen? Picture this: you're sitting at the intersection of intention and action. Most of us are conditioned to think that results come only after a long, drawn-out process. Work hard now, reap the rewards later. It's like planting a seed and waiting months for it to bloom: water, sunlight, patience, repeat. But collapsing time says, nah, let's bloom now. The trick lies in aligning your energy with your desired outcome so intensely that the gap between where you are and where you want to be just disappears. At the heart of this idea is the understanding that time isn't as linear as we think. Sure, clocks tick forward, calendars flip pages, but when you zoom out to the quantum level, time gets weird. It stretches, bends, folds in on itself. And here's where Grinberg's theory comes into play. It suggests that the quantum field, the energetic web that connects everything, isn't limited by our human perception of time. This means that when you tap into this field with clarity and focus, you can draw future outcomes into your present reality. It's not magic, it's resonance. Your intention vibrates at a certain frequency, and when that frequency matches the reality you desire, the two collide. Boom, time collapsed. Now, here's the juicy part: collapsing time isn't about working harder or doing more. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about being. The energy you bring to the table matters more than the effort. Are you showing up aligned, confident, already feeling the emotions of success? Or are you stuck in the grind, hoping and wishing for results someday? The quantum field doesn't care about your to-do list. It responds to who you are in this moment. Let's break it down. Say you're aiming to manifest wealth. Most people would dive headfirst into action, launch a side hustle, invest in stocks, or take a course. Nothing wrong with that, but if your energy is scattered, doubtful, or desperate, you're essentially telling the quantum field, I'm not there yet. And guess what? It mirrors that back to you. But when you collapse time, you embody the energy of abundance now. You walk, talk, and think like the wealthy version of yourself. You're not chasing wealth, you're meeting it halfway. This doesn't mean ignoring action altogether. Action is still part of the equation, but it's inspired action, not busy work. It's the kind of action that feels aligned, almost effortless, because it's coming from a place of already knowing you've succeeded. Think of it like this: instead of pushing a boulder uphill, you're rolling with the flow of gravity because you've aligned yourself with the momentum of your desire. The biggest obstacle? Doubt. Your logical mind will fight you on this because it's obsessed with timelines and tangible steps. It'll whisper, you can't just skip the process. That's not how life works. But here's the thing: collapsing time isn't about skipping, it's about transcending. It's about realizing that time is just a construct, a tool we use to organize reality, not a law written in stone. So, how do you start? First, get crystal clear on your desired outcome. Not just the goal itself, but how it feels, smells, sounds. Immerse yourself in that reality. Next, embody it. If you were already wealthy, how would you carry yourself? What decisions would you make? Start living those answers now. And finally, trust. Trust that the quantum field is doing its thing, even if you can't see the pieces moving yet. In the end, collapsing time is less about doing and more about being. It's about stepping into your future self today and letting the universe rearrange itself to match your energy. And when you nail that alignment, results don't take years, they take moments. Number 2, leveraging the 0-point field for creativity. Alright, let's dive into the concept of leveraging the 0-point field for creativity. First off, the 0-point field, ZPF, is this invisible, yet incredibly powerful, energy field that underlies everything in the universe. Imagine it as a vast ocean of potential, where infinite possibilities exist but are waiting to be tapped into. The fascinating thing about the 0-point field is that it isn't static or stagnant. It's constantly vibrating with energy, even in the vacuum of space. For creative minds, this field holds incredible potential. Now, what does it mean to tap into this mysterious field for creativity? It's about reaching into this realm of potential, beyond our normal awareness. Picture your mind as a radio receiver. When you tune into a specific frequency, you're able to access different stations. The 0-point field is like that radio frequency, except instead of music or talk shows, you're receiving bursts of creativity, ideas, inspiration, stuff that may seem to come out of nowhere. But it's actually coming from a deep source, far beyond your individual mind. Creativity often seems like this elusive thing. One minute, you're on fire with ideas, and the next, you're stuck in a creative block. Here's where the 0-point field can make a massive difference. By learning to connect with this underlying field, you can unlock a constant flow of creativity. The trick is to quiet your mind enough so that you can tune into this greater consciousness. But it's not just about being passive and waiting for inspiration to strike. Engaging with the ZPF for creativity is more like creating an open channel. It requires a certain level of awareness and presence. Think of it like a deep meditation, where you allow your mind to transcend the usual chatter and distractions, reaching for something beyond your own thoughts. It's a state of calm focus, where ideas can rise from the depths of the field, often leading to breakthroughs or sudden insights. Interestingly, this connection isn't about force. It's not about pushing yourself to be creative. It's more like dancing with the flow of the universe. You stop struggling, stop trying to make creativity happen, and instead, you let it come to you. And when you're in that receptive state, the ideas aren't just random thoughts. They feel more like they've been waiting for you, already shaped, already formed, ready to be manifested in the world. The beauty of this approach is that creativity doesn't have to be a rare, fleeting experience. When you're tapped into the 0-point field, creativity becomes a reliable companion. You're no longer dependent on the mood or circumstances to spark inspiration. It's like you're accessing an endless library of ideas and concepts, and it's up to you to pick what resonates with you the most. And the best part? The more you connect with the ZPF, the easier it becomes. Over time, you get better at hearing those subtle frequencies of inspiration, and the floodgates of creativity just keep opening wider. But let's be real for a moment. It's not always easy. The world is full of distractions, noise, and stress. Our daily lives often pull us away from this connection. That's why cultivating practices that quiet the mind, things like meditation, journaling, or even just taking a walk, can be so powerful. These simple actions help you peel away the layers of noise so you can connect with the stillness of the 0-point field. When you do make that connection, creativity doesn't just become something you access, it becomes something that flows through you. It's like a spark igniting a fire. Once it's started, it burns with a unique, vibrant energy that's difficult to control, yet incredibly fulfilling to experience. The more you nurture that connection, the more naturally ideas, solutions, and innovations will emerge from the depths of the ZPF. It's not about forcing anything. It's about being present and letting the universe work its magic. And, in turn, you work your magic, too. Number 3. Utilizing emotional energy as a manifestation catalyst. When we talk about manifesting wealth and abundance, one of the most powerful forces we have at our disposal is emotional energy. Now, this might sound a bit out there if you're not familiar with the idea, but hear me out. There's something incredibly magnetic about the way our emotions shape our reality. It's like they're the fuel that propels the thoughts and intentions we set into the universe. Imagine trying to manifest something without feeling anything. It's like trying to start a fire without any sparks. It's just not going to happen. Grinberg's quantum field theory suggests that emotions are far more than just fleeting feelings. They are, in fact, energetic waves that interact with the quantum field around us, influencing the very fabric of reality. So, the next time you feel that rush of excitement or a deep sense of joy, recognize that it's not just a passing moment. It's a wave of energy that can create ripples in the universe. But here's the catch: the type of emotional energy you put out there matters. If you're constantly feeling frustration or doubt, you're essentially sending mixed signals to the universe. It's like trying to send a text but only half typing it. The message isn't clear, and the universe can't respond to a half-formed request. On the flip side, when you align your emotions with what you want, when you can feel what it would be like to already have that abundance, you're sending a crystal-clear message. The universe doesn't have to guess what you want, it can just follow your emotional blueprint. But how do you tap into this emotional energy effectively? The first step is getting in touch with your feelings. I'm talking about the deep ones, the ones that you may have been trained to suppress or overlook. We live in a world that often values logic over emotion, but in manifestation, emotions are the language of the universe. So, start paying attention to the emotions that arise in your day-to-day life. If you notice feelings of excitement or a rush of happiness when you think about wealth, expansion, or abundance, lean into that. Let those feelings grow and intensify. The more you amplify them, the more you align yourself with the reality you want to create. On the other hand, if negative emotions arise, don't ignore them or try to push them away. Instead, acknowledge them without judgment. Emotions like fear, anger, or sadness are often the result of past experiences or limiting beliefs that you've absorbed over time. Recognizing these emotions doesn't mean you have to keep them, but it does mean you can begin to transform them. The key is not letting these emotions hold you hostage, but rather using them as a signal that something within you needs attention. By transforming negative emotional states into ones of empowerment, you're essentially rewiring your inner energy to attract the wealth and abundance you desire. But here's where the quantum field comes into play. Emotions aren't just about what you feel in the moment, they're also about the energy you radiate. Think of it like tuning into a specific radio station. If your emotions are aligned with abundance and success, you're tuning into a frequency where wealth flows effortlessly. But if your emotions are stuck in a state of lack or limitation, you're tuning into a frequency that matches that. The universe, in all its quantum magnificence, responds to your emotional frequency like a mirror. If you want to see wealth reflected back to you, you have to be in harmony with the energy of wealth. And that energy is emotional. Now, it's not all about forcing yourself to feel positive all the time. It's about cultivating emotional awareness and allowing yourself to flow with the natural rhythms of life. There will be days when your emotional energy feels low, and that's okay. The goal isn't to suppress emotions, but to recognize their power and intentionally direct them toward your goals. When you make this a practice, manifesting wealth and abundance becomes less about effort and more about alignment. It's like becoming a conductor of your own energetic orchestra. So, in summary, using emotional energy as a manifestation catalyst is about recognizing the power you hold within your feelings. By consciously directing that energy toward what you want to manifest, you're unlocking a dynamic force that can shape your reality. The emotions you experience aren't just internal, they ripple out into the quantum field, influencing everything around you. Harnessing that energy is what transforms the invisible into the visible, turning your desires into tangible manifestations of wealth and abundance. Number 4. Thoughts as vibrational frequencies. Let's talk about thoughts, but not in the usual way people do. Not the "oh, I had a random idea today" kind of way. I mean, let's dig deeper into the vibrational undercurrent of your thoughts and how they shape everything you call reality. It sounds abstract, right? But stick with me, because once you understand this, it's like flipping on a switch you didn't even know existed. First things first, thoughts aren't just fluffy, intangible things floating around in your head. They're energy. Real, pulsating energy, vibrating at specific frequencies. Think of it like a radio station. You tune into a particular frequency, and that's the station you hear. Your thoughts work the same way. They're constantly broadcasting a signal to the quantum field, the infinite web of energy that connects everything, and the field responds by matching your vibe. Whatever you're putting out is what you're tuning into. It's a closed-loop system, simple yet insanely powerful. Now, here's where it gets wild. Your thoughts don't just sit in your brain. They ripple outward. Each thought you think has its own energetic signature, like a fingerprint. A thought of abundance, for example, vibrates at a higher frequency than a thought of lack. When you're thinking about prosperity, success, or joy, your frequency aligns with those realities. But when you're drowning in worry, fear, or doubt, you're vibrating at a much lower level, and the quantum field will serve you more of the same. It's like yelling into an echo chamber. Whatever you project comes right back at you. Grinberg's quantum field theory adds an extra layer of depth here. It suggests that the field is nonlinear. That means it's not bound by time, space, or even logic as we know it. Your thoughts aren't just influencing the immediate moment, they're shaping possibilities across a vast, interconnected web of potentials. When you focus on a specific thought with enough intention, you're essentially anchoring it into the field, making it more likely to manifest in your life. The stronger the emotion behind the thought, the stronger the signal you're sending. Okay, let's pause for a second. All this talk about vibrations and energy might sound a bit out there, but here's the thing, you've already felt it. You've experienced it. Ever walked into a room where the tension was so thick you could practically slice it with a knife? That's vibrational energy. Or had a conversation with someone who was so full of positive vibes that you left feeling on top of the world? Same thing. Thoughts and emotions emit frequencies, and they affect not just you but the space and people around you. The key to leveraging this? Awareness. You have to start noticing the kind of thoughts you're habitually thinking. Are they expansive or limiting? Do they focus on possibilities or problems? Most of us run on autopilot, replaying the same old mental tapes without realizing the impact they're having. But the moment you catch yourself in a low-frequency thought, like self-doubt or scarcity, you can flip the switch. Shift your focus. Choose a thought that feels better, even if it's just a tiny step up the emotional ladder. And don't underestimate the power of repetition. A single high-vibe thought is great, but it's the consistency that rewires your mental and energetic patterns. It's like training a muscle. The more you deliberately think thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and possibility, the more those frequencies become your default. Over time, you'll notice that the external world starts mirroring those internal shifts. Opportunities show up. Challenges dissolve. Things click into place. Here's the trick, though, you can't fake it. The quantum field doesn't respond to wishful thinking or hollow affirmations. You have to feel it in your bones. When you think, "I'm wealthy," it's not about saying the words, it's about embodying the frequency of wealth. What does that feel like? Is it confidence? Freedom? Joy? You have to let those emotions take root in your body, because they amplify the signal you're broadcasting. At the end of the day, thoughts are more than just mental chatter, they're the steering wheel of your life. Every thought you think sends a ripple into the quantum field, setting the stage for what comes next. So why not choose thoughts that vibrate at the frequency of the life you want to create? Shift your focus, elevate your vibe, and watch as the field bends to match the energy you bring. Number 5. Releasing limiting beliefs. Alright, let's talk about something that holds so many of us back, those pesky limiting beliefs. You know, the kind that whisper, or sometimes shout, things like, "I can't do that," or "I'll never be able to make it." These beliefs don't just show up out of nowhere. They're often deeply rooted in past experiences, societal expectations, or maybe even just inherited thought patterns. They seem harmless at first, but when you dig deeper, they actually have a massive impact on your ability to manifest wealth, abundance, and pretty much anything else you want in life. The thing is, we all have these beliefs, often buried beneath the surface of our conscious mind. It's like having invisible chains wrapped around your mind, holding you back from reaching your full potential. And, unfortunately, they tend to be incredibly convincing. They sneak in and make you think that you're not capable, not worthy, or that something outside of you is controlling your destiny. But here's the catch: those beliefs are not real. They are not the truth about who you are, or what you can achieve. In the context of Grinberg's quantum field theory, releasing limiting beliefs is all about shifting your energy and mindset to align with a higher frequency, one that attracts opportunities, wealth, and abundance. The 0-point field is a place of infinite possibilities, right? But if your beliefs are stuck in lack or scarcity, you're essentially closing yourself off from accessing that limitless potential. It's like you're tuning your radio to the wrong station and wondering why you're not hearing the right music. So how do we get rid of these limiting beliefs? First, we need to become aware of them. This isn't always easy. Our minds can be tricky. These beliefs often show up as truths that we don't even question. You might catch yourself thinking, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "It's hard to be successful." Those beliefs are limiting, and they're keeping you in a constant loop of lack. Awareness is the first step. Once you notice these thoughts, you can start to challenge them, and that's when the real magic begins. Releasing limiting beliefs isn't just about recognizing them, it's about doing the work to change them. It's about rewiring your brain, shifting your mindset, and realigning with the abundant energy of the quantum field. The process often starts with reframing, turning those old, unhelpful beliefs into new, empowering ones. For example, instead of "I'll never be wealthy," try "I am worthy of abundance and success, and I am open to receiving it in many forms." Sounds simple, right? But that subtle shift in language has the power to shift your entire vibration. Now, here's the part that often gets overlooked: it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. That's part of it, yes, but the real change comes when you feel it in your body. The quantum field isn't just affected by your thoughts, it's also influenced by your emotions, your energy, and how you show up in the world. If you want to manifest abundance, you need to feel abundant. You need to embody that belief, and that means taking actions that align with a mindset of abundance, even when you don't see the full picture yet. Releasing limiting beliefs also involves getting comfortable with discomfort. It's easy to stick to what we know, even if it's not serving us. But to grow, we need to move outside of that comfort zone. When we start challenging the beliefs that have kept us in a box, we might feel resistance. And that's okay. The more we push against that resistance, the more we break free from the chains that have been holding us down. But here's the kicker: once you release those beliefs, something amazing happens. The universe starts responding differently. When you believe that abundance is your birthright, you start seeing opportunities you didn't see before. When you believe you're worthy of success, people start recognizing your value. The quantum field doesn't work in a linear, cause and effect way. It's much more fluid, much more expansive. It's like once you open the floodgates, everything you've been wanting begins to flow toward you. And here's the real truth: the journey of releasing limiting beliefs is ongoing. It's not a one-time thing. As you continue to grow, you'll discover new beliefs, new patterns that need shifting. It's part of the process of becoming the person you're meant to be. So keep peeling back the layers, keep challenging the old thoughts, and keep aligning yourself with the abundant energy that's all around you. When you do, you'll begin to see just how powerful you really are. And that's when you'll truly start to manifest the wealth, the success, and the abundance you've always desired. Number 6. Visualizing desired outcomes. Visualization sounds simple enough, right? But when you really dive into it, you'll realize it's not just a quick mental image of your goal. It's far more profound. It's not about imagining what wealth looks like, but about fully immersing yourself in the feeling of having already achieved it. This is where Grinberg's quantum field theory comes into play. According to his theory, the act of visualizing your desired outcome isn't merely a mental exercise, it's an energetic imprint you're making on the quantum field itself. Think about it. When you visualize something with clarity and intensity, you're creating a specific frequency in your mind and body, one that mirrors the outcome you want. And this frequency, according to quantum theory, isn't just in your head. It's a real energetic force that resonates with the universe around you. The more vivid and emotionally charged your visualization, the more you send out a powerful signal to the quantum field, telling it exactly what you want to manifest. But here's the thing, it's not about wishful thinking. Visualization requires more than just passive dreaming, it demands active participation. Start by really getting into the details. Don't just imagine the wealth, but imagine how it feels, how it looks, how it smells. Feel yourself stepping into that reality with all 5 senses. What's the texture of success? What's the sound of abundance? When you do this, you're essentially creating a blueprint for your future, and the clearer that blueprint is, the more the universe has to work with. It's like building a house. You wouldn't just say, "I want a house." You'd have a detailed plan, right? You'd know the number of rooms, the layout, the materials. It's the same with your desires. But there's a catch. It's not enough to just visualize once and forget about it. For this to work, your visualizations need to be consistent, frequent, and charged with emotion. Just like when you tune a radio to a particular station, you have to keep your frequency steady. The clearer your mental picture, the more it aligns with your energy. The trick is to make these visualizations a part of your daily routine. Picture yourself achieving your goals every single day, see yourself living the life of abundance you desire, and feel the emotions that come with it. Over time, this mental exercise will begin to shape your reality in ways you might not even fully understand at first. But it's not just about imagining the outcome, it's about feeling it as though it's already here. Grinberg's theory emphasizes that the quantum field doesn't operate in a linear way. It doesn't differentiate between now and later in the way we do. To the universe, everything is happening at once. So when you visualize, you're not just sending a request into the future, you're shifting your energy to match the outcome you desire in the present. In essence, you're collapsing time, drawing that future wealth into the now. What's important here is that visualization isn't passive. It requires your full engagement. It's not about hoping for a good outcome, it's about knowing that the outcome is already yours. When you can tap into that certainty, that unwavering belief that what you desire is already on its way, you become a magnet for it. Your energy doesn't just attract, it commands the universe to respond. But let's not get carried away thinking that visualizing alone is enough. Visualization is a tool, not a magic wand. It's a way to align your energy, but it's up to you to take inspired action. This energetic alignment, when paired with focused effort and intention, is what creates the powerful synergy needed to manifest your goals. Visualization clears the path, setting the stage for action, and when both work together, you're in the flow. One last thing, don't get discouraged if you don't see instant results. The universe works in mysterious ways, and often, things are unfolding in the background that you can't see yet. Trust the process. Trust the energy you're cultivating. Just like planting a seed, you don't expect the tree to grow overnight, but you know the roots are getting stronger each day. With consistent visualization, your wealth will begin to materialize in ways you might never have imagined. Number 7. Trusting the quantum field. Let's get real for a second. Trusting something you can't see, hear, or touch. That's no small feat, but when it comes to manifesting wealth and abundance, trusting the quantum field isn't just a nice idea, it's the secret sauce. It's the leap of faith that takes you from trying to control everything to co-creating with a force much bigger, much smarter, and infinitely more connected than you are. But what does trusting the quantum field actually mean? Let's break it down. At its core, the quantum field is an infinite sea of potential. Every possibility you can imagine, and even the ones you can't, already exists as a vibrating possibility within this field. When you trust it, you're not just hoping for a random miracle, you're aligning yourself with this ocean of energy and allowing it to do what it does best, reorganize reality to match the vibration of your intention. Sounds poetic, right? But trust me, it's also practical. Here's the thing, though, trust doesn't come naturally. Most of us are wired to doubt, to question, to want proof before we let go. We cling to control because it feels safer. But control is an illusion. You're not the CEO of the universe, no matter how hard you hustle. Trusting the quantum field means releasing that white-knuckle grip on outcomes and stepping into a space of surrender. Not the passive, I guess I'll just wait and see kind of surrender, but the active, powerful kind that says, I know the field is working for me, even if I can't see it yet. Now, here's where people trip up. They think trusting the field means doing nothing. Like you just sit back, cross your fingers, and hope the quantum field delivers the goods. Nope, that's not it. Trust is an active state. It's about moving forward with confidence, even when you don't have all the answers. It's about taking inspired action and letting the field fill in the gaps. You're not forcing things to happen, you're allowing them to unfold. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't stand over it, shouting at it to grow, right? You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process. You know it'll sprout when the time is right. The quantum field works the same way. You set your intention, align your energy, and trust that the pieces are falling into place behind the scenes, even if nothing seems to be happening on the surface. Of course, the waiting part can feel like a test. Doubt creeps in. What if it's not working? What if I'm doing it wrong? These thoughts are normal, but they're also like static on your frequency. The more you let doubt run the show, the harder it is for the quantum field to align with your intention. Trusting the field means silencing that mental noise and holding steady, even when your logical mind wants to panic. So how do you cultivate that unshakable trust? Start by noticing how the field responds to you in small ways. Maybe you get an intuitive nudge to take a certain action, or a coincidence lines up perfectly with your goals. These are signs that the field is at work. The more you notice these little synchronicities, the easier it gets to trust the bigger picture. And don't forget about gratitude. Gratitude is like fuel for trust. When you're grateful, not just for what you have, but for what's on its way, you're amplifying the signal you're sending to the quantum field. You're saying, I trust that everything I desire is already mine, and the field mirrors that energy back to you. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, which is where all the magic happens. At the end of the day, trusting the quantum field is about letting go of the how and focusing on the what. You don't need to know every step of the journey. You just need to know where you're going and trust that the field will handle the details. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Because when you fully trust the field, you're no longer working against the flow of the universe, you're flowing with it. And that's when wealth and abundance start showing up in ways that feel effortless, almost inevitable. Number 8. Quantum entanglement in relationships and wealth. Alright, let's dive into something pretty wild and exciting: quantum entanglement and its surprising link to both relationships and wealth. Now, quantum entanglement is one of those mind-bending concepts from physics that sounds almost too strange to be true, but once you start wrapping your mind around it, it makes perfect sense. The basic idea is that when two particles become entangled, they're connected in such a way that what happens to one particle instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. It's like these particles are communicating faster than the speed of light, almost like they're part of the same energy field. Now, you might be thinking, what in the world does this have to do with relationships and wealth? Well, here's where it gets interesting. The concept of entanglement doesn't just apply to particles, it can also be seen in how we interact with each other. Just like quantum particles, we, as humans, are interconnected on a deeper level than we often realize. Our thoughts, emotions, and energy affect not just ourselves but everyone around us. And this connection can have a huge impact on our ability to manifest wealth and abundance. When it comes to relationships, whether personal, professional, or even the relationships we have with money, there's a kind of entanglement happening. Ever noticed how the energy between two people can shift a room? Or how when you're around someone with a positive, abundant mindset, you start feeling more optimistic and inspired? That's quantum entanglement in action. Our energy fields are constantly influencing one another, like invisible threads linking us all together. So, let's break it down a little further. When you enter a relationship, whether it's with a partner, a business associate, or even the idea of wealth itself, you're creating an energetic connection. If your energy aligns with abundance, creativity, and positive outcomes, then those connections will likely nurture and support your growth. But if you're tangled up in limiting beliefs, scarcity, or fear, those entanglements can hold you back from achieving your goals. Think of it like this: if your energy is stuck in negativity, it'll impact not just you, but the people you're entangled with. It's a ripple effect. Now, let's talk about wealth. Just like your relationships, your connection with money can be seen through the lens of entanglement. If your energy around money is one of fear, lack, or resistance, you'll find it harder to manifest abundance. You're essentially creating a block in your energetic connection to wealth. On the other hand, if you start to cultivate an abundant mindset, if you truly believe that wealth is available to you and that there's more than enough to go around, you're entangling yourself with the very energy of abundance. This is why mindset is so important when it comes to wealth. When your thoughts and energy are in alignment with what you want to manifest, whether it's financial abundance, success, or new opportunities, you start to vibrate at a frequency that attracts those things to you. The people you encounter, the opportunities that arise, and the resources you need seem to fall into place almost effortlessly. It's like the universe is responding to your energetic signal, pulling in everything that matches your frequency. But here's the kicker: quantum entanglement doesn't just apply to you and money. It's also about the people around you. The relationships you cultivate, both with individuals and with the collective energy of abundance, can either support or hinder your wealth manifestation. If you're surrounded by people who share a similar mindset of prosperity, chances are that energy will amplify and reflect back to you. It's like your entanglement with them boosts your own ability to attract wealth. On the flip side, if you're surrounded by people who are stuck in scarcity or negative energy, their vibrations can entangle with yours and create a resistance to your goals. And here's where things can get tricky, because this entanglement happens whether you're aware of it or not. So, if you find yourself struggling with wealth despite doing all the right things, it might be worth taking a closer look at the energy of the people around you. Are they supportive? Do they believe in abundance? Or do they, perhaps unintentionally, hold you back with their own limiting beliefs? The key to navigating this quantum entanglement in relationships and wealth is becoming more mindful of the energy you're contributing to the connections you make. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all part of the energetic fabric of your relationships and your financial reality. When you focus on building connections that resonate with growth, abundance, and mutual support, you're not only strengthening those relationships but also aligning yourself with the abundant energy of the quantum field. In the end, quantum entanglement isn't just about particles in a lab, it's about the invisible threads that connect us all. Whether it's in your relationships or your financial journey, understanding and embracing these connections can unlock doors to a world of wealth, abundance, and possibility. It's all about choosing the energy you want to entangle with and letting it carry you toward your dreams. Number 9. Anchoring wealth in your subconscious. When it comes to manifesting wealth and abundance, there's one thing that often gets overlooked: the subconscious. It's like the backstage of your mind, running the show without you even realizing it. But what happens in the subconscious mind shapes everything you experience in life, including how much wealth you attract. That's why anchoring wealth in your subconscious isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential. Grinberg's quantum field theory touches on the idea that the subconscious is directly connected to the quantum field. What that means is that everything you believe, feel, and think at a deep, unconscious level sends out signals into the universe. These signals shape your reality, sometimes without you even realizing it. So, if your subconscious beliefs are rooted in scarcity, lack, or doubt, you're unintentionally pushing away the very wealth you're trying to manifest. But here's the kicker: your subconscious mind doesn't operate on logic or reason. It doesn't care about facts. It cares about repetition and emotion. This is why positive affirmations or intentions alone aren't always enough. You can say, "I am wealthy," 1,000 times, but if you don't feel it deep down, your subconscious is going to resist. It's like trying to convince a child to believe in something they've never seen. So how do you begin to anchor wealth in your subconscious mind? The first step is recognizing the existing beliefs you have about money. These beliefs, often formed at a young age or through societal conditioning, may be deeply ingrained in your psyche. And here's the tricky part: many of them are so embedded in your subconscious that you don't even realize they exist. Think about it. What's your gut reaction when you think about money? Does it make you feel excited or anxious? Confident or guilty? Whatever you feel is a clue to the beliefs you've unknowingly accepted about wealth. Now, to anchor wealth in your subconscious, you need to replace those old beliefs with new ones. But this doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of rewiring your mind. One of the most effective tools for this is visualization. Not just any visualization, but one that's rich with emotion and detail. You need to feel the abundance as though it's already yours. The more intense and vivid the feeling, the deeper it will sink into your subconscious. When you visualize yourself living a life of abundance, you're not just imagining what it would look like, you're convincing your subconscious that wealth is a natural part of who you are. Another powerful technique is affirmation, but with a twist. Instead of simply repeating words like a mantra, integrate them into your emotions. Say to yourself, "I am worthy of unlimited wealth," but feel that truth in your body. Let it resonate through every cell of your being. The combination of repetition, feeling, and belief is what makes these affirmations effective in changing your subconscious programming. But there's more to it. Your subconscious mind is particularly responsive to physical sensations. When you anchor wealth, think about the emotions and sensations that you'd experience if you had all the money and abundance you desire. How would your body feel in the presence of wealth? Perhaps you'd feel light, confident, and expansive. Maybe you'd feel at ease, like you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Let these feelings anchor themselves in your body. This creates a deep, physical connection to wealth, one that resonates not just in your mind, but in your very being. The key to lasting change is consistency. It's not enough to visualize abundance once and expect your subconscious to suddenly shift. You have to reprogram it daily. Make these practices part of your routine, whether it's meditation, journaling, or simply taking a few minutes every morning to feel the abundance you seek. Every time you engage with these feelings and thoughts, you're reinforcing the idea that wealth is part of your identity. Over time, your subconscious mind will begin to align with this new reality, and it will no longer resist the flow of money and abundance. And here's something that might surprise you: the more you align your subconscious with wealth, the more effortlessly it will flow into your life. You won't have to force it. Your actions, decisions, and behaviors will naturally begin to reflect this new belief system. The energy you put out will match the abundance you've anchored in your subconscious, and the universe will respond in kind. Anchoring wealth in your subconscious mind is all about changing the internal narrative. The more you make abundance a natural part of your identity, the more your external reality will reflect that. It's about shifting from a mindset of lack to one of limitless possibility, and it starts deep within you. Number 10. Rewriting your personal energy blueprint. Let's get into the guts of this idea: your personal energy blueprint. It's not something you can see or touch, but it's always there, running the show behind the scenes. Think of it like the wiring in a house. It determines how the energy flows, where the lights shine, and which circuits might be overloaded or blown out. If you're trying to manifest wealth and abundance but it's just not clicking, the problem probably isn't out there. It's in the blueprint. Your energy blueprint is essentially the sum total of your beliefs, emotions, patterns, and habits, all swirling together to create the vibrational frequency you're operating on. And here's the kicker: this blueprint isn't fixed. It's not some unchangeable fate you're stuck with forever. It's malleable, adaptable, alive. You can rewrite it, redesign it, make it work for you instead of against you. But before we get to the how, let's talk about why it matters. Everything you experience is filtered through your blueprint. If your energy is wired for scarcity, if you've got limiting beliefs about money, worthiness, or success baked into your subconscious, then no matter how hard you try, you'll keep hitting the same walls. It's like trying to download a high-speed video on an outdated dial-up connection. You've got to upgrade the system first. Grinberg's quantum field theory reminds us that the quantum field responds to your energy signature, not your wishful thinking. If you want to attract wealth and abundance, you've got to match the frequency of those things. And that starts with rewriting your blueprint. Step 1. Awareness. You can't rewrite what you're not aware of. Start tuning into the stories you're telling yourself about money, success, and abundance. Are they empowering, or are they full of fear and doubt? Maybe it's something like, "I'll never make enough," or "People like me don't get rich." These stories may feel like facts, but they're just scripts you've been handed, or written yourself, over the years. And the beautiful thing about scripts? They can be edited. Once you've identified the old, outdated programs, it's time to uninstall them. This is where things get tricky because your brain loves familiarity. It's wired to keep running the same loops because they feel safe, even if they're holding you back. To rewrite your blueprint, you've got to interrupt those loops. When a limiting thought pops up, don't let it run wild. Pause. Challenge it. Replace it with something that feels expansive. For example, swap "I'll never have enough" with "I'm open to receiving more than I ever imagined." It might feel weird at first, but that's just your old blueprint fighting for survival. Keep at it. But rewriting isn't just a mental exercise, it's a full-body experience. Your emotions play a huge role in your energy blueprint. If your thoughts are saying abundance, but your emotions are stuck in anxiety or frustration, you're sending mixed signals to the quantum field. To align your energy, focus on how abundance feels. Is it light, free, joyful? Practice embodying that feeling now, even before the external results show up. The more you align your emotions with the energy of wealth and abundance, the more natural it becomes. And let's not forget the physical. Your habits, routines, and actions are all extensions of your energy blueprint. If your day-to-day choices don't reflect the abundance you're aiming for, you're out of alignment. This isn't about pretending to be something you're not, it's about making choices that reinforce the energy you want to live in. If abundance were a person, how would they walk, talk, spend their time? Start living like that version of yourself today. Here's the magic of rewriting your blueprint. It doesn't just change your internal world, it shifts what shows up in your external reality. The quantum field is like a mirror, reflecting back the energy you radiate. When you consciously rewrite your energy blueprint, you're essentially telling the field, "This is who I am now." And the field responds. Opportunities, resources, connections, they start aligning with your new frequency. Rewriting your personal energy blueprint isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a process, a practice, a constant recalibration. Some days it'll feel effortless, like the universe is conspiring in your favor. Other days, the old programming will try to pull you back. That's okay. Keep rewriting, one thought, one feeling, one action at a time. Because the more aligned your energy becomes, the more the quantum field bends in your favor, delivering the wealth and abundance you've always been capable of creating. In the next section, a hidden scientific method to manifest wealth. Do you know that Jacobo Grinberg, a pioneering neuroscientist, uncovered manifestation secrets that could completely transform your life? Grinberg's research on consciousness and the power of thought revealed astonishing truths about how we shape our reality. These secrets bridge the gap between ancient spiritual wisdom and modern science, offering a roadmap to manifest your dreams like never before. In this video, we'll uncover the life-changing principles Grinberg discovered and how you can apply them to unlock your full potential. Stick around till the end. What you learn today could be the key to creating the life you've always desired. Number 1. The Law of Mental Resonance. Alright, let's dive into this mind-blowing concept, the Law of Mental Resonance. This isn't just some fluffy, feel-good mantra. It's the key to understanding how your thoughts don't just stay locked in your head, they ripple out into the universe, connecting with similar energy, and shaping your reality. Sounds wild, right? But stay with me. First off, let's talk about what mental resonance even means. Think about resonance like tuning forks. Strike one, and if another is nearby and tuned to the same frequency, it starts vibrating too. Your mind works the same way, sending out vibrations that align with specific frequencies in the universe. You're like a human radio tower, constantly broadcasting your thoughts and emotions. But here's the kicker, what you send out comes right back to you. It's not just about thinking positively or imagining success and waiting for it to drop in your lap. It's deeper, much deeper. Grinberg believed that our mental patterns, those habitual ways we think and feel, create a sort of energetic signal. And this signal doesn't just float around harmlessly. It goes out, finds matching vibrations, and amplifies them. In simple terms, if your thoughts are tuned to fear, scarcity, or self-doubt, guess what? You attract more of the same. On the flip side, tune into confidence, abundance, and love, and suddenly, your world starts shifting in ways you didn't think were possible. Now, let's get a little gritty. Most of us walk around with minds cluttered by negative chatter, self-criticism, regrets, anxieties about the future. These thoughts have a kind of weight to them. They're heavy, sticky, and they drag your mental frequency down. Grinberg believed that to change your external reality, you've got to clean up the noise in your head. It's like clearing static from a radio station. The clearer your signal, the stronger the resonance. Here's where it gets even crazier. Your subconscious plays a massive role in this. You can't fake mental resonance. You can't just slap a smile on your face and repeat affirmations like, "I'm a millionaire," while secretly feeling broke and stressed. Your subconscious knows the truth, and that's the frequency it broadcasts. If you want the law of mental resonance to work in your favor, you have to align your conscious and subconscious. That means addressing your deepest beliefs, even the ones you're scared to look at. Grinberg suggested something that might sound a bit out there but is incredibly powerful: meditative visualization. This isn't just about picturing what you want like it's a daydream. It's about immersing yourself in the feeling of already having it. Feel the joy, the excitement, the peace of living that reality. When you can hold that feeling steady, your mental resonance shifts. It's like tuning your inner radio to a brand new station, one that's all about growth, success, and fulfillment. But let's keep it real, it's not always easy. Your old mental patterns will try to pull you back. You'll feel doubt creeping in, telling you it's all nonsense. That's normal. The trick is to stay consistent. Mental resonance isn't a one-time deal, it's a practice. You have to keep tuning your thoughts, letting go of the ones that don't serve you, and reinforcing the ones that do. And here's the beauty of it: once you get the hang of it, it's like magic. Suddenly, opportunities show up out of nowhere. The right people cross your path. Situations that seemed impossible start to unfold in your favor. It's not luck, it's alignment. You're resonating at a frequency that matches the life you want, and the universe can't help but respond. So, if you've ever wondered why some people seem to attract success effortlessly while others struggle, this could be the missing piece. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter on your mind, your thoughts, and your energy. That's the law of mental resonance in action, and trust me, once you tap into it, you'll never see the world, or yourself, the same way again. Number 2, observing reality as a construct. Have you ever stopped and thought about how the world around you is not as solid and unchanging as you've been led to believe? It's like, we live our lives thinking reality is this thing that just is. You wake up, go through the motions, and everything feels like it's just waiting for you to react to it. But what if the truth is much more complicated? What if reality itself is a construct, something we shape and mold every single moment? Jacobo Grinberg's exploration of consciousness and reality offers a radically different perspective. He dives into this idea that everything we perceive is, in a sense, not real at all. It's all based on our subjective experience, our interpretations, and the lenses through which we view the world. In this light, reality doesn't just exist, it's created, moment by moment, by how we interact with it. Think about it this way: we all see the same physical world, right? Same sky, same buildings, same people. But the way you experience that world is completely unique to you. Your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, everything filters your perception. Two people could stand in the same room, observe the same event, and walk away with entirely different interpretations. For one, the room might feel welcoming, while for another, it might feel cold and distant. The objective facts of the room didn't change, but their perception of it did. That's the key difference. Reality, in Grinberg's view, isn't this fixed, external thing. It's not something that just is waiting for you to notice it. Instead, it's something that we co-create. Our consciousness, our thoughts, and our awareness play an active role in shaping it. It's like you're the artist and the world is the canvas. But instead of picking up a paintbrush, you're using your senses, your mind, and your experiences to paint the picture of the world around you. The crazy thing is, most people don't even realize they're doing this. We're so caught up in reacting to the world instead of creating it. We think that reality is something solid and concrete, and that it's separate from us. But Grinberg challenges this by asking us to question everything, question the way we think about ourselves, the world, and the very nature of consciousness. The truth is, reality could be completely different from what we think it is, and all it takes is shifting our awareness to see it in a new light. So, what happens when you start seeing reality as a construct? Well, everything changes. Suddenly, you're not just a passive observer. You become an active participant in creating your life. When you realize that reality is fluid, that it's shaped by your thoughts and perceptions, you start to understand just how much power you have. You begin to see that your inner world, your mindset, your feelings, your beliefs, isn't just a reflection of the outer world. It's the very thing that shapes it. By observing reality this way, you're not just looking at the surface anymore. You're peeking behind the curtain, realizing that you're part of the magic. Every moment becomes an opportunity to change, to shift your perspective, and to recreate the world around you. The more you practice this, the more you start to notice patterns, connections, and synchronicities that you never saw before. It's like you're no longer just living in the world, you're actively participating in creating it. And here's the kicker: when you start observing reality as a construct, you start to realize that you can influence it. If you can shape your perception, if you can shape your inner world, you can begin to mold the outer world as well. That's the power of Grinberg's teachings. It's not about trying to control reality or bend it to your will. It's about understanding that you're not just a passive observer, but a co-creator with the universe. The moment you realize this, your whole life could change forever. So, next time you look around and feel like reality is set in stone, remember, it's not. You're part of the process, and the world around you is waiting for you to shape it in ways you've never imagined. Number 3. Understanding the unified field. When we start talking about the unified field, it's easy for the mind to wander off, thinking of complicated theories or concepts that only belong in the pages of dense books or physics textbooks. But the truth is, understanding the unified field doesn't have to be this distant, abstract idea. It's actually something that can open up a whole new way of seeing reality. And once we get a glimpse of it, everything changes. Jacobo Grinberg, with his deep dive into human perception and consciousness, gave us tools to tap into this field, showing us that it's not just some far-off dream, it's actually part of our existence. So, let's break it down. Imagine for a second that everything you see around you, everything you experience, think, and feel, is part of a vast interconnected web. This is the unified field. It's not just made up of what we can touch or see, it includes the energies, vibrations, and forces that lie beyond the material world. It's the invisible fabric that holds everything together, and it's in motion all the time, even when we don't notice it. What Grinberg explored was how this field influences our consciousness. We think we're these separate beings, isolated from each other and from everything else around us. But in reality, we're not. The unified field is the space where everything connects, where thoughts, emotions, and experiences all overlap. You could think of it like an ocean of energy that flows through everything. Every wave, every ripple in that ocean is a reflection of a thought, a belief, or a feeling. Now, the reason this is so mind-blowing is because, in understanding the unified field, we start to see how everything we do, think, or feel is part of something much bigger than ourselves. It's like the strings of a giant cosmic web, and each of us, in our unique way, pulls at those strings every day. The catch is, most of the time, we don't even realize we're pulling. Our thoughts, our intentions, and our emotions are all energy that interacts with the unified field, shaping our reality. This is the part that can change your life forever. Imagine waking up to the fact that your thoughts and emotions are not just private experiences, they are actively interacting with the universe. It's like your mind is constantly broadcasting signals into this field, and what you send out comes back in one form or another. You could say the unified field is a mirror of your consciousness. So, if your thoughts are scattered, negative, or confused, the reflection you get back will mirror that chaos. But if you tap into a higher level of awareness and begin to consciously direct your energy, you open the door to incredible potential. What's truly fascinating is that we all have the ability to consciously interact with this field. The question is, are we aware of it? Grinberg's work suggests that most of us aren't fully aware of the power we hold. We've been conditioned to think of ourselves as disconnected, as isolated beings. But the truth is, we are constantly interacting with the unified field, whether we realize it or not. So, the more aware we become of this interaction, the more control we have over how the field responds to us. But here's the kicker: understanding the unified field isn't just about gaining some theoretical knowledge. It's about practical application. It's about learning how to tune into the frequency of the field, how to align your energy with its vibrations, and how to consciously create the life you desire. It's like learning to surf the waves of this ocean instead of being tossed around by them. You become a master of your own experience, capable of navigating the currents of the universe with intention and purpose. This is where Grinberg's teachings can really change your life. By embracing the idea that everything is interconnected through the unified field, you begin to see yourself as part of something much greater. And when you align your thoughts, feelings, and actions with that understanding, you unlock the potential for transformation in ways that are beyond ordinary comprehension. It's not magic, it's simply learning to work with the energy that is already all around you. Number 4, using inner dialogue to reprogram reality. Let's talk about the chatter in your head, your inner dialogue. You know, that constant stream of thoughts running through your mind, narrating your life like it's some kind of never-ending movie. What if I told you that this inner dialogue isn't just background noise? It's the key to shaping your reality. Jacobo Grinberg's work dives deep into this idea, and trust me, it's more powerful than you think. Here's the deal: your inner dialogue acts like a script for your life. The things you repeatedly tell yourself, whether you realize it or not, become your truth. Think of it like this: your brain is a sponge, soaking up every word, every thought. And the more you repeat certain ideas, good or bad, the more they sink in and solidify as your reality. If you're constantly thinking, "I'm not good enough," your brain goes, "Okay, got it," and starts making that your experience. But if you flip the script, everything changes. Grinberg believed that the mind is not just a passive observer of reality, it's a creator of it. Your inner dialogue doesn't just reflect what's happening around you, it shapes it. Every thought, every word, is like a seed you plant in the fertile soil of your subconscious. And guess what? Whatever you plant is going to grow. So, if you're constantly feeding your mind with doubts, fears, and limitations, don't be surprised when your life mirrors those exact things. But here's the exciting part: you can change it. You can reprogram your reality by rewriting the script inside your head. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually use inner dialogue to reprogram your life? It starts with awareness. You have to catch yourself in the act. Pay attention to the things you say to yourself, especially when you're under stress or feeling down. Are your thoughts empowering? Or are they tearing you apart? Most of us are way harsher on ourselves than we'd ever be to anyone else. That's got to stop. Once you're aware of the negativity, the next step is to replace it. And no, I'm not talking about some cheesy fake-it-till-you-make-it stuff. I mean consciously, intentionally choosing words that align with the reality you want to create. Let's say your inner dialogue keeps saying, "I can't do this." Instead of fighting it, you gently redirect it. Try, "I'm figuring this out," or "I'm capable of handling this." It's not about lying to yourself, it's about planting seeds of possibility. Grinberg's approach wasn't just about slapping positive affirmations on top of a negative mindset, though. He believed in the feeling behind the words. It's not enough to say, "I am successful," if deep down you feel like a failure. You have to connect emotionally with the words you're using. Feel the excitement, the pride, the joy of what you're saying as if it's already true. When your inner dialogue is charged with genuine emotion, it resonates on a much deeper level. And here's the really cool part, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. If you keep feeding it empowering, uplifting thoughts, it starts to believe them. And as your brain changes, so does your energy. You start vibrating at a higher frequency, and reality begins to shift in ways you couldn't have predicted. But let's be real, this isn't some overnight miracle. Reprogramming your inner dialogue takes time and consistency. You'll slip up. Old patterns will creep back in. That's normal. The trick is to notice when it happens and gently steer yourself back on course. Think of it like training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Eventually, this new way of thinking becomes second nature. And when it does, that's when the magic happens. You'll notice opportunities appearing where there were none before. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable will start to dissolve. People will treat you differently, not because they've changed, but because you have. The bottom line? Your inner dialogue is more than just a stream of thoughts. It's a tool, a weapon, a superpower. Use it wisely, and there's no limit to what you can create. Grinberg wasn't just theorizing, he was handing you the keys to the universe. All you have to do is turn them. Number 5. The role of quantum holograms in reality creation. Okay, buckle up, because this concept might stretch your mind in ways you haven't thought of before. Imagine that reality, the world you experience every day, isn't some fixed, tangible thing. What if it's more like a projection, an image cast from something deeper, something almost invisible? That's where the idea of quantum holograms comes in, and believe me, it's something that could totally change how you see the universe. At first glance, the idea of quantum holograms might sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but stick with me here. Jacobo Grinberg, the mastermind behind many groundbreaking ideas in consciousness and reality, dives into this concept to explain how we create our reality. Grinberg suggests that our experience of the world, everything we see, touch, and interact with, could actually be a projection from deeper, quantum-level patterns, holograms that shape how we perceive the universe. So, what exactly is a quantum hologram? Imagine a hologram, the kind you see in fancy tech displays or art. The image you see seems to be real, but if you change your perspective or look at it from a different angle, the whole image shifts, revealing new details, new layers. Now, take that concept to the quantum level. Instead of just a flat, 2D image, imagine that everything around you, every person, every object, every feeling, is a part of a deeper, multidimensional projection. It's as if the world is made up of constantly shifting layers, each one reflecting a different angle of reality. In Grinberg's view, this quantum hologram is the way the universe operates. It's not that the world exists in a static, rigid form, but rather that it's a dynamic projection, a constantly shifting, evolving map of possibilities. You could think of it as a blueprint that's always changing, one that gets shaped by the observer. Yes, you heard that right. You, the observer, are playing a key role in how this hologram forms and how the reality you experience comes to life. Here's where things get really interesting. If reality is truly a projection of quantum holograms, that means the way you interact with it matters. Your thoughts, beliefs, and consciousness directly influence how these holograms are shaped. You're not just experiencing a fixed world, you're actively participating in the creation of it, even if you don't realize it. Imagine it like a movie being played on a screen. The images seem real, but if you pull back the curtain, you'd see that they're just pixels, manipulated by something deeper. In the same way, the universe we perceive is a product of this deeper, quantum interaction, shaped by how we focus our attention and energy. Now, let's dig into the how of this. The quantum hologram doesn't exist in just one place or time. It's not limited by space or linear progression. Instead, it's everywhere, all the time. It's a non-local field of potentiality that underlies everything in existence. When you think of something, when you focus your intention on a goal, or even when you shift your state of mind, you're interacting with this holographic field. It's like you're sending ripples through the quantum fabric, and those ripples influence how the hologram is projected in your experience. What does that mean for you in practical terms? Well, it means you have a tremendous amount of power in shaping your reality. You're not just a passive observer going through life. You're actively participating in the unfolding of your experience. The more you understand how quantum holograms work, the more you can intentionally direct those ripples. You can change how the world presents itself to you by shifting your inner state, your perception, and your focus. It's like having a secret key to the universe. Once you realize that reality is a projection, a hologram, and that you can interact with it on a quantum level, the possibilities become endless. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your consciousness are the tools you can use to mold the world around you. No longer are you just reacting to what happens around you. Instead, you're actively creating the very experiences you desire. So, next time you find yourself caught up in the day-to-day grind, remember that reality isn't just something that happens to you. It's a projection, a living, breathing hologram that you help shape every moment. And once you get that, once you really start to understand the role you play in this quantum dance, you'll begin to see the world in a whole new way. Reality is yours to create, it always has been. You just need to realize it. Number 6, harnessing the theta brainwave state. Let's talk about the theta brainwave state. Sounds technical, right? But stick with me, because understanding this can change the way you experience reality. The theta state is one of those hidden gems that Jacobo Grinberg uncovered in his exploration of consciousness. It's like a doorway to a whole new level of power and creativity, and once you learn to tap into it, the possibilities are endless. It's almost like stepping into the backstage of your own mind, where all the magic happens. So, what is this theta state, and why does it matter so much? Brainwaves are electrical impulses that fire in your brain, and they occur in different frequencies. These frequencies are typically classified into different states like alpha, beta, delta, and of course, theta. The theta state is particularly special because it's where you find a deeper level of awareness, a level where you're awake, but at the same time, you're deeply relaxed. It's like being in a dream, but still conscious enough to steer it. When you're in theta, you're not in the usual rush of daily life. There's no noise from the outside world. It's a place where the mind becomes quiet, and you can finally hear your inner voice. It's where intuition lives. If you want to tap into the deep layers of your mind and align yourself with the forces of the universe, this is the state you want to be in. Now, why should we care about this? Why should we want to harness it? Because the theta state is the gateway to manifestation. In this state, your mind is highly receptive. It's like a sponge, soaking up every thought, every intention you direct towards it. If you've ever struggled with trying to manifest something and felt like it was taking forever or just wasn't working, it's likely because your mind was too cluttered or stuck in a beta state. The beta state is where you're constantly analyzing and overthinking, often blocking the flow of what you truly desire. But when you drop down into theta, your mind becomes a clear, open channel. You're no longer fighting against distractions. You're tuned into your deepest desires, and the universe responds. Here's the cool part, the theta state is also where creativity, insight, and profound problem-solving happen. It's like your brain goes into overdrive in the best possible way, firing up new ideas and solutions that you may never have considered in your usual, fast-paced state. In theta, you can rewrite old patterns, remove limiting beliefs, and even unlock hidden potential you didn't know was there. The boundaries between your conscious mind and the subconscious begin to blur. You're suddenly more open to receiving answers, more in tune with your intuition, and more capable of envisioning the life you want. But here's the catch: getting into the theta state isn't always easy. It takes practice. You can't just snap your fingers and instantly enter. It's like learning any new skill. You need patience, consistency, and focus. The best part? It's totally worth it. Once you begin to practice getting into theta, it becomes easier, and the results are absolutely worth the effort. You can tap into theta through various methods: meditation, breathing exercises, guided visualizations, and even certain sound frequencies. These methods help slow down your brainwaves, guiding them naturally into the theta frequency. Once you're there, you'll start noticing a shift. It might feel like a sense of deep peace, like the weight of the world is lifted, or maybe you'll feel a surge of creative energy or insights. This is the sweet spot where your mind is working with the universe to manifest your desires. The key here is intentionality. When you enter theta, don't just float aimlessly. Focus your thoughts. Set clear intentions. Visualize what you want with vivid detail, feel the emotions of having it in your life, and allow yourself to believe that it's already happening. When you combine the power of theta with intention, you become a magnet for your desires. Your thoughts aren't just drifting around, they're being absorbed by the universe, which then reflects them back to you in ways you might not even expect. Harnessing the theta state is like having a superpower. It's the tool that allows you to change your inner world, and in doing so, change your outer world. Once you master this, everything becomes a little easier. Manifesting becomes less about forcing things to happen and more about aligning yourself with the flow of life, trusting that you're on the right path. It's a state of creation, of pure potential, and the moment you learn how to access it on command, the world opens up in ways you never thought possible. Number 7. Altering neural perceptions through repetition. Let's get into this fascinating idea: altering your neural perceptions through repetition. I know, it sounds a bit like something out of a sci-fi movie, but hear me out. Jacobo Grinberg believed that our perception of reality isn't some fixed thing. Nope. It's fluid, malleable, and most importantly, something you can change. The secret? Repetition. Okay, so what does that even mean? Let's break it down. Your brain is like this super sophisticated machine, constantly processing information and trying to make sense of the world. But here's the catch: it's lazy. It loves patterns. Once it locks onto a particular way of seeing things, it sticks to it. That's why your habits, your beliefs, and even your outlook on life can feel so hard to change. It's like your brain has built this giant web of neural connections, and it's pretty comfy staying right where it is. But here's the twist: those neural connections? They're not set in stone. They're more like highways that can be rerouted if you're willing to do the work. And repetition is the bulldozer that clears the path. Now, let's talk about how this works. When you repeat a thought, an action, or even an emotion, you're literally rewiring your brain. Every time you revisit an idea, neurons in your brain fire together. And as neuroscientists love to say, neurons that fire together, wire together. That means the more you focus on something, the stronger the connection becomes. It's like walking through a forest. At first, there's no trail, but after enough steps in the same direction, a clear path starts to form. Here's where it gets wild: your brain doesn't care whether the thing you're repeating is helpful or harmful. It just strengthens whatever you feed it. So, if you're constantly telling yourself, "I'm not good enough," your brain doubles down on that belief. But if you start saying, "I'm capable and growing every day," and you mean it, those words start to reshape your neural landscape. Over time, that new belief becomes your default setting. The power of repetition is more than just saying something over and over, though. It's about fully immersing yourself in it. Think about it like this: if you just mumble an affirmation once or twice without really feeling it, it's like tossing a pebble into a pond. Sure, It makes a ripple, but it doesn't go very far. But when you say something with conviction, when you feel the truth of it in your bones, it's like dropping a boulder into the water. The ripple effect is massive. Grinberg emphasized the importance of this emotional charge. Repetition by itself is like planting seeds in rocky soil. It might sprout, but it won't thrive. When you combine repetition with strong, vivid emotions, though, that's when the magic happens. Your brain starts to sit up and pay attention, going, "Oh, this is important. Let's prioritize this." But here's the thing, it's not a quick fix. Changing neural perceptions takes time, and it takes consistency. You've got to show up for yourself every single day, even when it feels like nothing's happening. Think of it like filling a jar with drops of water. At first, it looks empty, but keep going, and eventually, it overflows. One of the coolest things about this process is that it doesn't just change how you think. It changes how you see. Grinberg believed that by altering your neural perceptions, you literally start to experience a different version of reality. It's not that the world around you shifts, it's that your brain starts tuning into possibilities and opportunities that were always there, hidden in plain sight. And let's not forget the resistance you're going to face. Your old neural pathways won't just roll over and die. They'll fight to stay alive because, again, your brain loves its comfort zone. But every time you choose to repeat a new thought or belief instead of falling back into the old pattern, you're weakening those outdated connections and strengthening the new ones. It's a process, but it's so worth it. So, if you've ever felt stuck, like your life is on autopilot and nothing ever changes, this is your reminder, you have the power to rewire your brain. You can reshape your perceptions, alter your beliefs, and open yourself up to a whole new way of experiencing the world. It all starts with repetition. Small steps, taken over and over, can lead to massive transformations. Grinberg was onto something profound here, and once you tap into this, there's no going back. Number 8, intention setting. So, let's talk about intention setting. It sounds simple, right? You decide what you want, set your goal, and go after it. But here's the catch, intention setting isn't just about writing down some goals and hoping for the best. It's far more powerful than that. In fact, according to Jacobo Grinberg, intention is one of the most potent forces in the universe, and when you harness it, you unlock the potential to literally reshape your reality. Think of intention as the spark that ignites everything. It's not just a vague wish or a passing thought. It's a clear, focused energy that sends a ripple through the fabric of your consciousness and, according to Grinberg, through the quantum field itself. When you set an intention, you're essentially giving the universe a direction. You're not just putting out a half-hearted request, you're saying, "This is what I want, this is what I'm committed to." And once you truly decide, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, starts to align itself to support you in that goal. But here's where things get interesting. Grinberg stresses that intention isn't just about thinking what you want, it's about feeling it too. Your intention has to come from a place of deep, genuine emotion. The energy you put out into the world needs to be charged with clarity, belief, and passion. It's not enough to simply state what you want. You need to feel it as if it's already yours. That emotional connection is like the fuel that propels your intention into motion. It's easy to say you want something, but to truly set an intention means that you're aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and even your actions with that goal. It's the difference between casually wishing for something and making a firm, committed decision that this is what you're going to experience in your life. When you set an intention with this kind of clarity and focus, you're creating a magnetic force that draws opportunities and experiences toward you. And here's the kicker, once you've truly set your intention, you don't have to constantly chase it. Grinberg teaches that once the intention is set, it begins to unfold naturally, almost like a seed being planted in fertile soil. But, and this is important, intention setting isn't a one-time thing. It's a continual process. It's like steering a ship. You can't just set your course once and expect to sail smoothly forever. You need to keep your focus, keep adjusting your mental and emotional compass as things shift. Every time doubt creeps in or you face obstacles, you have to go back to your intention. Reaffirm it. Reconnect with it. When challenges arise, and they will, your intention is what keeps you grounded, what keeps you moving forward. One of the most powerful parts of intention setting is that it connects you to a deeper, more expansive part of yourself. It's not just about achieving something in the physical world, it's also about aligning with your higher purpose. This deeper connection makes your intention feel less like a goal you're chasing and more like a truth that's already within you. And when you come from that place of alignment, the energy behind your intention becomes unstoppable. It's no longer about efforting and striving, it's about flowing with what already is, letting your intention guide you to the experiences that are meant for you. When you think about intention setting in this way, it's not just a tool for achieving things. It's a way to consciously create the kind of life you want to experience. It's a practice of tuning into the frequency of your desires, aligning your energy with that frequency, and then allowing things to unfold naturally. The beauty of this is that when you operate from a place of clear intention, it no longer feels like life is happening to you. You start to realize that you're the one making it happen, in ways that are subtle but powerful. Grinberg's approach to intention setting is all about feeling your way through the process, allowing your heart and mind to align, and then letting the universe do the rest. So, the next time you set an intention, don't just think it, feel it. Let it resonate in every fiber of your being, and watch as your reality begins to shift in ways you couldn't have predicted. Remember, intention setting is not some mystical, unreachable practice. It's simply about deciding what you want with unwavering clarity and then aligning yourself with that desire. It's about taking control of the energy you're putting out into the world and trusting that what you desire is already on its way. All you have to do is set the intention, and the universe will take care of the rest. Number 9. Expanding the sensory field to perceive subtle energies. Let's dive into something that might sound a little out there at first, but trust me, it's absolutely fascinating: expanding the sensory field to perceive subtle energies. At first glance, this might sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie or a mystical ancient text, but what if I told you it's a real thing, something you can actually do? This is one of the powerful concepts Jacobo Grinberg explored, and it can change the way you experience the world around you. Okay, let's break this down. We all know the 5 basic senses, right? Sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. These are the channels through which we perceive the world, and they're incredibly useful, but they also limit us to only a small portion of what's really going on. Beyond these physical senses lies a whole universe of subtle energies that most of us aren't aware of. We're talking about things like vibrations, the energy in a room, the moods of others, or even the invisible forces that shape our thoughts and actions. These aren't detectable with your typical senses, but they're still very real and play a massive role in our lives. Now, you might be thinking, how in the world do I tap into something I can't even see or touch? That's where Grinberg's research comes in. He suggested that our ability to sense these energies is there, just waiting to be unlocked. It's not some magical gift that only a select few possess. We all have the potential to expand our sensory field, to widen our perception so that we can tune into these subtle energies that usually fly under the radar. And once you start perceiving these energies, your understanding of the world, and your ability to navigate it, changes drastically. Imagine you're in a room filled with people. You might be able to hear their voices and see their faces, but what about everything else? What if you could feel the energy in the room, the unspoken tension, the emotions vibrating beneath the surface? What if you could sense someone's intentions or the lingering energy of a past event that occurred in that very space? This is the kind of expanded perception Grinberg was talking about. It's not about developing a sixth sense or turning into some superhero, It's about fine-tuning your existing senses so that you can feel the unseen, hear the quiet, and sense the subtle. This expanded sensory field is not just about being aware of energies around you, though. It's about learning how to channel that awareness to guide your actions. When you're more attuned to these subtle forces, you can begin to influence them, and in turn, they can influence you. It's like walking into a room where the vibe feels off, and you instantly know something is wrong. That's energy at play. The cool part? With practice, you can begin to not only perceive it but also shift it. This means you could walk into that same room and change the energy simply by being more conscious of it. You can change the atmosphere, influence your environment, and even the people in it, by becoming more attuned to the subtle vibrations around you. But how do you start to perceive these subtle energies? It begins with awareness. The first step is acknowledging that there's more to reality than what we can see and touch. From there, you can start practicing mindfulness and meditation. These practices help quiet the noise of the mind, allowing you to tap into a deeper level of awareness where these energies exist. It's like tuning a radio to the right frequency. You have to quiet the static to hear the signal. You can also engage your senses more deeply, paying attention to things like the energy of your environment or the subtle shifts in mood when you're with others. Over time, you'll begin to notice these energies more and more, and your ability to perceive them will naturally expand. It's like learning a new language, and the more you practice, the more fluent you become in understanding the subtle layers of reality. The power of expanding your sensory field is that it allows you to live with more awareness and intention. You start noticing patterns, picking up on energies before they become obvious, and understanding the hidden forces at work in any situation. With this level of awareness, you begin to make choices that align more with your true desires and intentions. You're not just reacting to life, you're actively engaging with it, understanding it on a deeper level. Grinberg's teachings on this subject show us that we all have the potential to perceive and interact with these subtle energies. It's not about being gifted or special, it's about awakening to the deeper layers of reality that are always there, just waiting for us to notice them. By expanding our sensory field, we step into a richer, more vibrant world where we are more connected, more aware, and ultimately, more in control of the energies that shape our lives. Number 10. The principle of synchronicity. Let's unravel something that feels almost magical, the principle of synchronicity. It's one of those things that, once you understand it, makes you wonder how you ever ignored it in the first place. Jacobo Grinberg took this concept to a whole new level, exploring how synchronicity isn't just a series of random coincidences but a profound pattern woven into the very fabric of reality. So, what exactly is synchronicity? It's those moments where things just click, where the universe feels like it's speaking directly to you. It's not luck. It's not a chance. Synchronicity is meaningful alignment, where external events somehow mirror your inner world. It's as if your thoughts, feelings, and intentions are dancing with reality itself. Sounds a little out there, right? But stick with me, it's fascinating. Grinberg believed that the principle of synchronicity reveals how interconnected everything is. You might think of yourself as separate from the world, but the truth is, you're part of an enormous, ever-flowing web of energy and information. When your inner state aligns with the energy of this web, synchronicity starts to show up. It's like your personal frequency gets tuned to the right channel, and suddenly, everything starts to fall into place. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Synchronicity isn't just about noticing random events and giving them meaning. It's about understanding that your inner thoughts, emotions, and beliefs shape what you attract. If you're constantly feeling stuck, angry, or negative, the energy you're putting out creates a kind of static. It blocks the flow of meaningful connections. But when you align yourself with positivity, clarity, and intention, you become a magnet for synchronicities. It's like the universe starts whispering, yes, you're on the right path. Grinberg saw synchronicity as proof that your consciousness plays an active role in reality. And let's be real, this flips the script on how most of us think the world works. We're taught that life is a series of random events, that things happen to us, not because of us. But what if that's not true? What if the things you focus on internally have a direct impact on the external events you experience? It's a wild thought, but one worth sitting with. Here's the thing about synchronicity, it's subtle. It doesn't hit you over the head with obvious signs. It's more like a gentle nudge, a breadcrumb trail leading you towards something greater. And the more tuned in you are, the more you start to notice these patterns. You might catch a certain phrase popping up again and again, or encounter the same symbol when you're pondering a big decision. These aren't just coincidences, they're signals. But, and this is key, synchronicity isn't a vending machine. You can't just pop in a wish and expect the universe to spit out an answer. It's about co-creation. You've got to be actively involved in the process, setting clear intentions and staying open to whatever form the answers take. Sometimes, synchronicity shows up in ways you didn't expect. Maybe it challenges you or pushes you outside your comfort zone. That's all part of the magic. It's not always easy, but it's always meaningful. Another piece of the puzzle is trust. You've got to trust that synchronicity is real, that the universe isn't random chaos but a system with its own kind of intelligence. This doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means taking action while staying attuned to those little signs and nudges along the way. When you start seeing life through the lens of synchronicity, even the smallest moments feel significant. Grinberg believed that synchronicity wasn't just a quirky phenomenon but a gateway to deeper understanding. It's the universe showing you how everything is connected, your thoughts, your actions, the people you meet, the situations you face. And when you're open to it, synchronicity becomes a kind of dialogue between you and reality. It's a reminder that you're not separate from the flow of life. You're part of it. So, what's the takeaway here? Start paying attention. Notice the little moments that seem too perfect to be random. Listen to that gut feeling when something just clicks. Stay open, stay curious, and trust that there's a deeper rhythm guiding you. The principle of synchronicity isn't some mystical mumbo-jumbo, it's a real, tangible way to see the world differently. And once you tune into it, life will never feel random again. These manifestation secrets have the potential to completely transform your life, but only if you take action. Remember, the power to create the reality you desire is already within you. Now it's time to harness it. What will you manifest today? Share your intentions or breakthroughs in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. If this video resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Together, we'll continue uncovering the secrets to living a life of purpose, abundance, and fulfillment. Thank you for watching, and remember, your journey begins the moment you decide to step into your power. See you in the next one. In the last section, let's discuss the mysterious disappearance of Jacobo Grinberg. Did you know that one of the world's most brilliant consciousness researchers, Jacobo Grinberg, vanished without a trace in 1994? His groundbreaking studies on the power of the human mind and reality itself challenged everything we thought we knew. But what if his work was so revolutionary, so threatening, that someone wanted him silenced? In this video, we unravel the mysterious disappearance of Jacobo Grinberg and explore the shocking theories surrounding his fate. Was it a conspiracy to suppress his discoveries? Or something even more sinister? Stick around till the end to uncover the chilling possibilities behind his vanishing act. Reason number 1. His groundbreaking research into consciousness and reality. Jacobo Grinberg was not your average scientist. His curiosity about the mind was boundless, and he didn't just dip his toes into the realm of consciousness, he dove in head first. What made his research stand out wasn't just his intellectual rigor, but the way he challenged the conventional boundaries of reality itself. For Grinberg, understanding consciousness wasn't just about studying the brain and its neurons. It was about diving deep into the very fabric of existence and questioning what we really know about the nature of our minds and the world around us. His ideas were groundbreaking because they weren't tied down by the usual academic constraints. He wasn't just trying to fit his findings into an existing box, he was trying to create a new one altogether. What Grinberg did differently was look at consciousness not as an isolated phenomenon that happens within us, but as something that connects us to the universe. He explored the possibility that consciousness isn't confined to the brain or even to the human experience. This perspective was radical. If consciousness is a universal thread that ties everything together, what does that mean for our understanding of reality? What if our minds could access dimensions or states beyond the everyday world we see with our eyes? At the core of his research was the exploration of altered states of consciousness. Through his studies, Grinberg delved into experiences that go beyond ordinary waking reality, things like deep meditation, the effects of hallucinogenic plants, and even phenomena related to energy fields. It wasn't about just looking at how these experiences affect the brain or body, it was about understanding how they could potentially reshape our perception of what's real. These altered states weren't just mental tricks or illusions, they were gateways to a deeper understanding of the universe. Grinberg's work didn't just open up a dialogue about consciousness, it began to question the nature of perception itself. How do we know what we know? Is everything we perceive really real, or is it just a construct of our minds? It's the kind of question that gets to the heart of philosophy and science, but Grinberg's approach was unique. Rather than relying purely on abstract thought or traditional scientific methods, he sought to blend the two. By combining traditional research with experiential knowledge from indigenous cultures and alternative practices, Grinberg aimed to paint a fuller picture of reality, one that embraced the mysterious, the mystical, and the unknown. The more Grinberg explored consciousness, the more he realized that our understanding of reality is far more fluid and malleable than we like to believe. According to him, reality isn't just the sum of what we see, hear, and touch, it's also shaped by our consciousness, our attention, and our intentions. Imagine for a moment that our perceptions don't just reflect the world, they actively shape it. What if reality is a collaborative effort between our minds and the universe around us? It's an idea that shakes the very foundation of what we think we know. But let's not get too carried away. Grinberg wasn't suggesting we could just sit back and manifest anything we want with a simple thought. He was more interested in how our perception of reality can be expanded and transformed through altered states of awareness. These experiences, he argued, reveal aspects of consciousness that are normally hidden from us in our everyday state of mind. They open doors to new possibilities and show us a world that's far more complex and mysterious than we ever imagined. Now, here's where things get even more intriguing. Grinberg's research began to touch on the idea that consciousness could be a tool for exploring realms beyond the physical world. These weren't just speculative ideas or fanciful dreams. He was suggesting that there could be tangible, scientific ways to study these experiences and phenomena. The more Grinberg dug into the unknown, the more it seemed that he was getting closer to something big. But the deeper he went, the more resistance he faced from the scientific community and beyond. It's almost as if his research started to unravel something that some forces didn't want to be unraveled. Was he onto something too dangerous, something that could shake the very pillars of what we know about reality? Maybe. Because if consciousness really does have the power to shape our perception of the world, then it might just hold the key to understanding the universe in ways we never thought possible. Grinberg's work, though, left us with more questions than answers. And it's those questions, the kind that dig into the very fabric of existence, that make his research so fascinating. His exploration into consciousness wasn't just about uncovering facts, it was about peeling back layers of reality itself. Maybe that's why his work still resonates with us today, because it doesn't offer simple answers, but rather invites us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to keep exploring the vast, mysterious terrain of our own minds. Reason number 2, exploration of telepathy and mind connections. Jacobo Grinberg was a man on a mission, someone driven by a profound curiosity about the power of the mind. His exploration of telepathy and mind connections wasn't just a scientific pursuit, it was more like an invitation to peek into a world few are bold enough to even consider. It's one thing to talk about the mind in abstract terms, but another to seriously explore how our thoughts, feelings, and intentions might transcend the limitations of our physical bodies. You see, telepathy isn't just about sending thoughts across a room like some kind of superpower. It's about tapping into a deeper network of connections, one where the boundaries between minds blur, and where understanding or communication can happen beyond words. Imagine the possibility of two minds syncing so closely that they could not only understand each other's thoughts but also share them, without speaking, without gestures, just pure mental connection. Wild, right? Grinberg's work took him down this rabbit hole of mind connections, and he wasn't just scratching the surface. His approach wasn't about playing with gimmicks or superficial tests. He dove deep into understanding how we might be able to create, control, or at least recognize these connections. Through his studies, Grinberg began to suggest that telepathy might not be as rare as we think. Rather, it's just that we haven't yet figured out how to consciously tap into this potential. It's almost like the idea of telepathy isn't about discovering a new, unexplored part of ourselves, it's about unlocking what's always been there, dormant. He proposed that humans might have a kind of telepathic antenna within us, capable of receiving and transmitting information. But for some reason, we've lost the ability to tune in. Think of it like a radio that, for whatever reason, no longer picks up certain frequencies. Grinberg believed that if we could figure out how to tune our minds, we could unlock these extraordinary abilities that lie within. But here's the thing, Grinberg wasn't just theorizing. He didn't just sit back and hope someone would stumble upon telepathy. He was hands-on, working with shamans, using hallucinogens, and exploring altered states of consciousness to push the boundaries of what we think is possible. He believed that by altering the mind state, we could tap into these abilities more effectively. The idea was that when you step outside the normal realm of thinking, you might open up a whole new world of mental and psychic connections, one that doesn't necessarily obey the rules of traditional science. It wasn't just about experimenting with the brain, it was about diving into the very nature of human consciousness. What if consciousness, in itself, is a collective force? What if it's not confined to just individual minds, but flows and interacts, much like the internet connects computers? It's a fascinating idea, and one Grinberg explored with a sense of awe and determination. His research hinted that human minds could be connected in ways that went far beyond what we can comprehend in the traditional, scientific sense. And yet, his explorations weren't always embraced by mainstream science. Some dismissed his work as too out there, too speculative. But Grinberg wasn't interested in playing it safe. He wanted to take the road less traveled. The more he dug into these ideas, the more he seemed to uncover about the nature of the mind, and the potential dangers of unveiling these secrets. Grinberg's interest in mind connections wasn't just about understanding telepathy. It was about understanding how far we could push the limits of human consciousness. What could happen if we understood how to fully connect with others on a mental level? Could we alter reality itself with nothing but thought? The possibilities were endless, and perhaps that was the problem. In the end, Grinberg's exploration of telepathy and mind connections wasn't about proving a point, it was about asking the big questions. He seemed to sense that there was something deeper at play, something beyond what our current understanding could explain. He believed that we, as humans, had the potential for so much more than we give ourselves credit for. But maybe, just maybe, some things are better left uncovered. What if some connections, once made, can never be undone? Reason number 3, controversial synergy theory challenging mainstream science. Jacobo Grinberg, a name that resonates with those familiar with the worlds of consciousness studies, altered states, and, yes, even mystery. But one of the most intriguing aspects of his life, before his disappearance, was his groundbreaking and, at times, wildly controversial synergy theory. It was a theory that didn't just tiptoe into the waters of mainstream science, it dove headfirst, splashing against the very walls that have long held a narrow, rigid view of reality. Grinberg's synergy theory was an audacious challenge to everything we thought we knew about consciousness, perception, and the fundamental nature of the universe. In simple terms, it proposed that consciousness itself is a product of an energetic synergy, a sort of dance between the mind, body, and the invisible forces around us. Grinberg suggested that our minds aren't just isolated entities processing information from the external world, they are part of a larger, interconnected web of energy. But that's just scratching the surface. What made his theory truly stand out was its challenge to conventional views in science. Most of mainstream science holds onto the idea that consciousness is a byproduct of the brain. It's all neurons firing and electrical signals zipping across synapses. The mind, in this traditional view, is a mechanical process, a complex, yet essentially biological function. Grinberg, however, wasn't content with this. He believed that consciousness could not be explained purely through biology or physics. Instead, it was a multidimensional experience, where different energies and frequencies interact in ways we've only begun to grasp. At the heart of synergy, there's this idea that what we perceive as reality is far less real than we think. Our senses, in Grinberg's view, are just filters, limited channels that give us a slice of a much broader, far more dynamic world. Imagine tuning into a radio station. You only hear the station you're tuned into, but beyond that frequency, there are countless others transmitting at the same time. This, according to Grinberg, is a metaphor for our own perception of the world. We're tuned into one frequency, but there are infinite others that we simply can't perceive with our current sensory toolkit. This concept of frequencies and energetic exchange didn't just relate to how we experienced the world around us, but to the very nature of reality itself. Grinberg suggested that by altering our perception, through practices like deep meditation, altered states, or even certain types of sensory deprivation, we could access deeper layers of consciousness, layers that, in his view, contain knowledge and wisdom far beyond our limited human understanding. But here's where things get really interesting and controversial. Grinberg hinted at the possibility that there are forces at play that don't want this kind of knowledge to spread. If consciousness is indeed an interconnected web, and if humans can tap into higher frequencies or access deeper realities, it opens up a Pandora's box of questions about power, control, and what certain entities might do to maintain the status quo. It's no wonder, then, that some of his critics saw his theories as dangerous. They weren't just challenging scientific norms, they were questioning the very foundation of what we think we know about life, consciousness, and even reality. In a world that thrives on certainty, where knowledge is tightly controlled, a theory like synergy wasn't just uncomfortable, it was unsettling. The mainstream scientific community, already suspicious of anything that even remotely hinted at the supernatural or fringe, dismissed Grinberg's work as pseudoscience, conspiracy, or just plain fantasy. Yet, this is the paradox at the heart of Grinberg's legacy. His work, by its very nature, was designed to be outside the box, to question, to disrupt, to challenge. His controversial ideas weren't just about expanding our understanding of consciousness, they were about breaking free from the chains of accepted wisdom and looking at the world in ways that most of us aren't brave enough to. Grinberg's theory didn't just stir the pot of scientific discourse, it opened the door to a broader, far more mystical, and sometimes uncomfortable way of seeing the world. In doing so, he became a kind of modern-day alchemist, blending ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science, and his disappearance, whether it was orchestrated or a tragic accident, only deepens the mystery. Did he uncover something too dangerous for the powers that be? Or did he simply go too far down a path where even his own understanding couldn't follow? In the end, the synergy theory is more than just a scientific idea. It's a statement, a bold challenge to how we view consciousness, reality, and our place in the universe. And whether it was Grinberg's demise or the ideas themselves that were silenced, there's no denying the unsettling truth: some things, once revealed, are harder to forget. Reason number 4: potential conflicts with powerful organizations. Jacobo Grinberg wasn't just another researcher in the field of consciousness. His work, as groundbreaking as it was, began to tap into some pretty uncomfortable territory. And when you start peeling back the layers of reality in ways that challenge deeply held beliefs, it's inevitable that you're going to run into resistance from the powers that be. The question is, what happens when those powers feel threatened by what you're uncovering? Grinberg's research, which blended the mystical and the scientific, started to draw the attention of entities that weren't exactly keen on seeing these ideas spread. It's one thing to study the brain or look at human behavior through the lens of psychology, but when you start suggesting that consciousness isn't just a product of the brain and might be connected to larger, universal forces, you're playing in a whole different ballpark. And let's face it, not everyone is comfortable with the idea that the way we perceive reality might not be as solid and predictable as we've been led to believe. Take, for example, the institutions that rely on a certain understanding of the world to keep things running smoothly. These are the institutions, whether they're governments, corporations, or other influential entities, that have a vested interest in maintaining a particular status quo. Grinberg's work threatened to upend that. His exploration into altered states of consciousness, the idea that perception itself is fluid and can be shaped by intention, and his dabbling into realms of reality beyond the physical could very well have rattled cages. Powerful organizations, especially those whose influence depends on controlling knowledge, authority, and what's considered normal, wouldn't be thrilled with a researcher like Grinberg pointing out that our understanding of the universe could be much more malleable and interconnected than we've been taught. Then there's the matter of cultural and societal norms. For centuries, many systems of power have functioned on the basis of controlling what people believe is real and what isn't. The idea that reality is something that can be altered, expanded, or even transcended by the individual, well, that's a bit of a Pandora's box. If people begin to realize that their consciousness can unlock different dimensions or tap into universal truths, how does that change the balance of power? Does it make institutions obsolete? Does it put individuals on a path toward freedom that these institutions can't control? You can see how that might be a problem. And let's not forget the potential financial interests at stake. Grinberg's research was starting to touch on aspects of human potential that could have far-reaching implications in areas like medicine, psychology, and even the economy. Imagine if people could begin to access deeper levels of awareness or energy, unlocking healing abilities, or even tapping into a universal knowledge that previously seemed out of reach. That's not just a paradigm shift, that's a game changer. The economic ramifications alone could be enormous. There are industries that would lose a lot of power if people started to look inward for answers instead of relying on external systems. But it's not just about economic control, it's about maintaining a specific worldview. The more Grinberg researched, the more he seemed to be hinting at the idea that we don't just experience reality through the senses we're familiar with. What if the things we thought were impossible, telepathy, out-of-body experiences, or even the ability to alter our physical reality, are simply the result of untapped potential in the human mind? That's a pretty radical thought, and it has a way of getting people's attention, especially those who are invested in making sure those ideas don't go mainstream. Grinberg's work wasn't just a threat to the status quo, it was a call to re-examine everything we thought we knew about the world, the mind, and our place in it. It wasn't a question of if his research would upset some powerful organizations, but how much. And the more he uncovered, the more likely it became that his findings would rub the wrong people the wrong way. Did this put Grinberg in a position where he could have made enemies? Absolutely. When you challenge deeply ingrained systems of control, you're bound to ruffle feathers, and sometimes, those feathers belong to some very influential birds. There are plenty of examples in history where people have been silenced, not because of their ideas' lack of merit, but because those ideas were simply too threatening to those in power. Grinberg was skating on the edges of something much bigger, and the deeper he dug into the nature of reality, the more possible it seemed that he could have been silenced by forces whose interests didn't align with his own discoveries. It's easy to speculate, of course, but one thing is certain: Grinberg's research wasn't just about consciousness. It was about rethinking the very nature of reality itself. And when you go that deep, you're bound to make waves. How big those waves were, and who might have wanted them calmed, is still very much open to discussion. Reason number 5: alleged suppression of unconventional scientific discoveries. When you start diving into the story of Jacobo Grinberg, it's hard to ignore the feeling that something bigger was at play, a sense that his research into the mind, consciousness, and telepathy wasn't just groundbreaking, it was threatening to some very powerful forces. The idea that unconventional scientific discoveries are sometimes suppressed isn't new. But Grinberg's case seemed to show just how far some might go to keep certain truths hidden, especially when they challenge the very foundation of what we think we know about reality. Grinberg wasn't just dipping his toes into uncharted territory. He was going in deep, exploring ideas that pushed beyond the typical scientific boundaries, questioning everything from how we perceive the world to how our minds might be able to influence things at a distance. His studies into mind connections weren't the kind of work that would just sit comfortably in the dusty corners of an academic journal. They were revolutionary, and, as history has shown, revolutionary ideas are often met with resistance. It's easy to understand why. Grinberg's research wasn't just theoretical. It wasn't like he was sitting in a lab, scribbling equations on a chalkboard, trying to prove a point to a group of colleagues. No, he was getting into the nitty-gritty, working with altered states of consciousness, working with individuals from different cultures who had knowledge that hadn't been explored by modern science. He was blurring the lines between the spiritual, the psychological, and the physical, and that's a recipe for conflict. When you present ideas that challenge the status quo, especially the status quo of science, which is already highly resistant to things that can't be easily measured or quantified, you become a target. People start asking questions: is this legitimate science? Is it even possible? The skepticism comes rushing in, but so do the fears. The fear that if these ideas start gaining traction, they could change the entire landscape of what we understand about the mind, about consciousness, and about human potential. And that kind of shift isn't always comfortable. For Grinberg, this wasn't just about pushing boundaries for the sake of curiosity. He was uncovering layers of human experience that many weren't ready to confront, and maybe some weren't willing to accept. The further he went, the more he seemed to be stepping on toes, those who had a stake in maintaining the traditional view of science, those who wanted to keep the mysteries of the mind neatly tied up in the realm of the unexplained. Grinberg's discoveries had the potential to turn everything upside down. But what if the suppression wasn't just about dismissing something as too strange or too out there? What if it was more insidious than that? What if the idea of this kind of knowledge being made public, in the wrong hands, was seen as too dangerous? After all, if people can tap into psychic abilities, influence the thoughts of others, or even manipulate the physical world with their minds, then the implications for power, control, and even warfare are endless. Who's going to control that kind of knowledge? And, more importantly, what might happen if it's not controlled? Grinberg, in his search for answers, was uncovering tools and abilities that, in the wrong hands, could potentially rewrite the rules of power dynamics in ways that would be unsettling. The question of who benefits from these discoveries looms large. And let's not forget the larger forces at play: government, military, industries that thrive on the current state of knowledge. If these discoveries posed a threat to the established power structures, then it makes sense that there would be attempts to either discredit the work or, as some suggest, silence the people behind it. Grinberg's own disappearance, as mysterious as it was, fits into this narrative of suppression. His work was far from mainstream, and as his theories became more widely known, it's hard to ignore the possibility that he became a target for those who saw his research as a threat. After all, the best way to silence a voice is to make it disappear. And the best way to suppress unconventional discoveries is to keep them in the shadows, ensuring they never reach a wider audience. In the end, Grinberg's research didn't just challenge scientific norms, it threatened to upend the entire way we think about human potential. The potential for a mind to reach beyond its physical boundaries, to communicate telepathically, to control or influence reality, it's a power that's both awe-inspiring and terrifying. And in a world where power is often rooted in controlling knowledge, Grinberg's discoveries might have been more than just groundbreaking. They could have been a catalyst for a new kind of revolution, one that's still waiting to be unleashed. Reason number 6, his wife's suspicious behavior and potential involvement. When it comes to Jacobo Grinberg's mysterious disappearance, there's one aspect that has captured the attention of conspiracy theorists and investigators alike: his wife's behavior. On the surface, her role in the entire situation might seem unremarkable, but dig a little deeper, and you might start to wonder, could she have been involved in some way? Was she a mere bystander, or was there something more to her actions, or inactions, that might point to a darker connection? Let's start with the timing. Grinberg's disappearance wasn't some random event. It came at a moment when he was deeply immersed in his controversial synergy theory, which, as we've already discussed, posed a serious challenge to mainstream science and threatened to unravel the very fabric of what was understood about consciousness. This was no minor pet project. It was a theory that could potentially reshape how we see the world, and not everyone was happy about that. Some might say that in a scenario like this, there are powers that would do anything to keep such knowledge under wraps. Now, imagine you're the wife of someone who's on the cusp of shaking the very foundation of established thinking. How would you feel? Would you be proud of your partner's groundbreaking work, or would the mounting pressure and the dangers surrounding it start to seep into your actions, subtly at first, maybe even unconsciously? Grinberg's wife had a front-row seat to the unfolding drama. She was there during his most intense moments, witnessing his growth as a scientist and the increasing hostility toward his work. And then, one day, he's gone. Just like that. But what's particularly odd is her response, or lack of it, when he vanished. Most would expect an outpouring of emotions, frantic phone calls, and desperate searches for answers. But what if the reaction was too calm? Too composed? Some have noted that her demeanor seemed strangely detached, as though she were somehow removed from the situation. Sure, grief manifests in different ways, but in the midst of a crisis like this, where's the urgency? Where's the fight to get answers? It doesn't end there. There's also the question of her actions following Grinberg's disappearance. She wasn't exactly forthcoming with information to the authorities. In fact, there were moments when she seemed more concerned about managing the narrative than uncovering the truth. Some might say that's simply a natural reaction to an overwhelming, tragic event, but others have speculated that she may have known more than she let on. After all, Grinberg wasn't just a scientist, he was a husband, a partner, a father. Was his wife genuinely unaware of his surroundings and the people who might have wanted to silence him? Or was she somehow complicit, either willingly or out of fear? The lack of transparency about his final days only added fuel to the fire. Grinberg had been acting strangely in the days leading up to his disappearance, speaking cryptically about hidden dangers and being unusually secretive about his work. Was this an early warning sign that something was amiss, or was it just a man becoming consumed by his own theories? And if his wife was truly in the dark, why didn't she notice the changes in him? Why didn't she take it more seriously? What really complicates the picture, though, is the possibility that she might have been in on it, if not directly involved in his disappearance, then perhaps aware of who or what might have played a role. Did she know something about the forces that were threatening her husband's work? Was she protecting someone or something? Or was she, in some twisted way, caught in a web of manipulation herself? The unsettling truth is that we'll never know for sure. The circumstances surrounding Jacobo Grinberg's disappearance are shrouded in mystery, and his wife's role in it will always be a topic of speculation. Perhaps she was just an innocent bystander, thrown into an unimaginable situation. Or perhaps, her calmness, her secrecy, her calculated behavior might point to a much more complex involvement. Either way, the questions surrounding her actions continue to add layers to the already confusing and chilling narrative of Grinberg's vanishing. One thing is certain, the mystery isn't going away anytime soon, and her involvement, whether direct or indirect, remains one of the most intriguing and troubling aspects of the case. Reason number 7, theories of abduction by secret societies. When you start digging into the mysterious disappearance of Jacobo Grinberg, you quickly realize that the more questions you ask, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. One of the more chilling theories that keeps popping up is the possibility that Grinberg wasn't just a victim of some random circumstance, but that he was deliberately silenced by powerful, secretive groups, secret societies, to be exact. Now, this might sound like the stuff of conspiracy theories, but let's take a step back and look at it from a different angle. Grinberg wasn't just some obscure academic working on abstract concepts. He was a researcher who was uncovering things that many would consider taboo, dangerous even. He was essentially looking at consciousness and reality in ways that could completely rewrite the rulebook. His work suggested that reality wasn't this rigid, objective thing we see with our eyes, but something far more malleable, interconnected, and potentially even manipulated. For some, that's unsettling. For others, it's downright threatening. And when you're dealing with entities that have a vested interest in keeping things just as they are, whether it's for power, control, or maintaining the status quo, someone like Grinberg becomes a liability. The idea that secret societies or powerful, hidden organizations would want to silence him starts to make a certain kind of sense. After all, these groups often operate in the shadows, pulling the strings behind the scenes, and they're not exactly known for tolerating threats to their control. If Grinberg was onto something that could disrupt the way the world functions, well, that's a problem. And what better way to keep something under wraps than by making sure the person revealing it simply disappears without a trace? Think about it, these kinds of groups have been suspected of controlling knowledge, suppressing new ideas, and maintaining their dominance over information for centuries. If Grinberg was starting to uncover ways in which consciousness could be expanded, altered, or even transcended, then the potential for that knowledge to spread could pose a serious threat to their power. Imagine if the masses had access to the kind of mind-expanding information Grinberg was digging into. It's not just about expanding human potential, it's about questioning everything, from our very understanding of reality to the systems that govern our lives. For organizations that thrive on secrecy, that's a huge red flag. Now, let's talk about the nature of secret societies for a second. These are groups that are built on exclusivity, on maintaining control over esoteric knowledge that they believe gives them power. They often believe that there are certain truths that shouldn't be shared with the general population, that the masses are too ignorant or unprepared to handle them. The very premise of Grinberg's research, that consciousness might be able to tap into hidden realms of reality, could be seen as exactly the kind of knowledge they would want to keep locked away. And if someone like Grinberg was getting too close to exposing that knowledge, well, it's not a stretch to think that he could have been targeted. But how does one go about silencing someone like Grinberg without making it look obvious? Here's where it gets even murkier. Abductions, disappearances, and other strange occurrences have often been linked to these shadowy groups, and they have a long history of operating in ways that leave little to no evidence behind. Disappearances like Grinberg's could easily be brushed off as mysterious or unsolved, especially if the public doesn't have a clue about the forces at play. For someone of his stature, someone whose work wasn't yet fully recognized by the mainstream, vanishing without a trace could easily be chalked up to personal issues, a midlife crisis, or just another unexplained case. Who would suspect a grand conspiracy when you can just leave everyone scratching their heads? And then there's the issue of Grinberg's research itself. It wasn't just academic or theoretical, it was hands-on, experiential, and deeply connected to practices and knowledge that had been guarded for centuries by various indigenous cultures and secretive groups. His interest in altered states of consciousness, shamanic rituals, and the connections between the mind and the universe wasn't just groundbreaking, it was deeply esoteric. If these secretive organizations were aware of what Grinberg was uncovering, it's entirely possible they saw him as a threat, someone who could potentially expose their long-held secrets. If you're thinking this all sounds a bit far-fetched, you're not alone. But the fact is, when you're dealing with figures like Grinberg, whose research could fundamentally alter how we perceive the world and ourselves, it's hard not to wonder if there's more to his disappearance than meets the eye. Were powerful, secretive forces keeping an eye on him? Could they have taken extreme measures to ensure that his discoveries never saw the light of day? The theory of abduction by secret societies might sound like something out of a thriller, but in the context of Grinberg's work, it feels eerily plausible. In the end, whether Grinberg's disappearance was the result of a carefully orchestrated plan by shadowy groups or simply an unfortunate accident, the unsettling fact remains: he was looking into some very dangerous, very powerful ideas that could have changed the world as we know it. And for some, that's a change that simply can't be allowed. Reason number 8, speculated links to government or intelligence operations. When you start to dig into the strange case of Jacobo Grinberg's disappearance, one of the most intriguing and unsettling questions that keeps coming up is whether his research might have attracted the attention of government agencies or intelligence operations. It's one of those angles that doesn't get discussed openly, but it hangs in the air, like an unspoken truth. If you're going to investigate consciousness, telepathy, and mind control, territory that challenges the very core of human experience, you're bound to draw the eyes of those who might see it as a potential tool, or even a weapon. You've got to think about it this way: Grinberg wasn't just playing around with abstract concepts. He wasn't just asking philosophical questions about the mind. He was going down a path that could, if proven true, fundamentally alter the way we understand the mind's capabilities. We're talking about the possibility of remote influence, telepathic communication, the ability to manipulate reality through sheer thought. Now, if that kind of power exists, who wouldn't be interested in controlling it? Governments and intelligence agencies aren't usually known for their love of transparency. They deal in power and control, and knowledge is often a critical part of that. If someone starts peeling back the curtain on the mind's hidden potential, the question inevitably arises: what happens if this knowledge gets out of hand? Could it change the way wars are fought? Could it shift the balance of power? Could it open doors to influence and manipulation on a scale the world has never seen? Those are the kinds of questions that would be enough to send anyone with a vested interest in maintaining control into overdrive. Grinberg's work, after all, wasn't just an exploration of human consciousness in the traditional sense. He was looking into altered states of being, using substances that could expand the mind's capacity, and uncovering ways in which people might be able to communicate or even control each other's thoughts. If someone could make contact with another person's mind without speaking a word, imagine the possibilities. It's a scary thought for anyone who thrives on secrecy or holds power in the shadows. The implications of that knowledge getting into the wrong hands could be catastrophic. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Grinberg didn't just study indigenous practices or explore consciousness through meditation. He took a deep dive into altered states of reality, working with shamans and exploring the unknown, blending ancient wisdom with modern science. That sort of research is exactly the kind that would raise red flags, especially in a world where intelligence agencies have a long history of investigating psychic phenomena and human potential. These kinds of studies are the stuff that gets classified or buried, if not outright co-opted by the powers that be. It's easy to imagine a scenario where a government or intelligence group could see Grinberg's work as a potential asset. If these abilities could be harnessed, it would give whoever controls them an enormous advantage, whether it's in surveillance, control, or warfare. The more you think about it, the more it makes sense that someone, somewhere, would want to stop Grinberg from revealing what he was uncovering. And if that meant removing him from the picture entirely, well, that's the kind of thing that could easily get swept under the rug, especially if you're dealing with powerful, secretive forces. There's also the issue of Grinberg's own connections. He wasn't a lone wolf scientist, working in a vacuum. His research took him deep into the world of indigenous communities and their practices, some of which are deeply tied to their own sense of spiritual power. There's a long history of governments getting involved in indigenous affairs, especially when those communities hold knowledge or practices that are deemed valuable, dangerous, or potentially threatening. Grinberg's interest in these areas could have made him a target, not just for his groundbreaking work, but for his exploration of spaces that were traditionally kept outside the reach of government control or influence. Was Grinberg's research simply too dangerous to let the world see? Or was it that his findings were too valuable to allow them to fall into the hands of the general public? It's a chilling thought, but one that makes more sense when you consider just how many covert operations have been launched in the past over less than earth-shattering discoveries. So, when you start to think about it, Grinberg's disappearance might not just be the result of an accident or a personal tragedy. It might have been something darker. The kind of thing that happens when someone stumbles across a secret that was never meant to be found. Was he silenced, not because he was wrong, but because what he uncovered was too dangerous or too powerful to let the world know about? It's the kind of theory that sounds crazy at first, but the more you dig, the more it starts to make a twisted kind of sense. And the more you start to wonder if Grinberg's disappearance was just the beginning of something much, much bigger. Reason number 9, fear of his ideas disrupting societal norms or power structures. When you think about Jacobo Grinberg and his disappearance, it's hard to shake the feeling that there was more at play than just a scientist vanishing into thin air. Sure, the theories he put forward about consciousness, reality, and the interconnectedness of all things were groundbreaking, but maybe that's exactly why someone wanted him gone. What if his ideas weren't just radical, they were dangerous? Not in the sense of violence or chaos, but in a way they threatened to upend the very fabric of society as we know it. Grinberg's work didn't just poke at the edges of established science. It was like pulling on a thread that, if pulled too hard, could unravel the whole sweater. His synergy theory, which suggested that consciousness was not just a product of the brain, but a multidimensional phenomenon tied to hidden energies and frequencies, was a direct challenge to everything mainstream science had built its foundations on. But it wasn't just about shaking up academia. No, it was bigger than that. Grinberg's theories hinted at the possibility of a reality where human beings could transcend traditional limitations, access higher states of consciousness, and perhaps even manipulate the forces that shape existence itself. Now, imagine for a second what that would mean. If his ideas were to gain traction, it would challenge everything, from how we view ourselves to how we interact with each other, to how we understand the world and the universe. It could disrupt entire industries, from pharmaceuticals to education to even religion. Grinberg wasn't just proposing a new scientific theory, he was opening the door to a reality where the established systems of power, control, and social norms could no longer hold sway over individuals. That's a lot of power to disrupt. Think about it, we've all been conditioned to see the world in a very specific way. The media, governments, and educational systems feed us a version of reality that keeps us grounded, controlled, and, in some ways, docile. This isn't necessarily a conspiracy, it's just the way things have been structured over centuries. Systems of power like predictability, control, and the maintenance of the status quo. Now, Grinberg's ideas, by their very nature, suggested that these systems were just illusions. They were constructs that kept us from realizing the true potential of our minds, bodies, and spirits. If people started thinking along those lines, the control structures could start to crumble. And here's the thing, those who benefit from the current order aren't usually too fond of change. Grinberg wasn't just walking the academic tightrope with his work, he was knocking on the door of something far bigger. The very idea that we might be able to access deeper levels of consciousness, or tap into energies that govern our reality, suggests that we could alter the course of our own lives without relying on traditional systems, whether that's the government, the corporate world, or even organized religion. In a world that thrives on power structures that keep things predictable and manageable, Grinberg's work was a dangerous invitation for people to think differently. And, as anyone with power knows, a questioning populace is a threat. But there's more to it than just challenging scientific norms or government policies. Grinberg was essentially inviting humanity to rethink what it meant to be human. His ideas hinted at a reality where individuals might not be as limited as we've been taught to believe. If the average person could tap into a deeper understanding of consciousness, if they could access higher planes of existence or develop abilities that go beyond the ordinary, the very nature of societal structures would be thrown into chaos. Think about it, we'd have people who no longer needed to rely on traditional forms of power, who could think and operate outside the box, who could break free of mental and physical limitations. That's a major shift in how society functions. In a way, Grinberg's disappearance wasn't just about him, it was about the world he was trying to unlock. The people who might have feared his ideas weren't just trying to silence a scientist. They were trying to keep a lid on something much bigger. His work threatened to reveal that the systems we've built our lives around are fragile, and if enough people woke up to that, the whole house of cards might come tumbling down. So, was he silenced? Maybe. Maybe not in the literal sense of someone pulling the strings, but perhaps in a more subtle, insidious way. If his ideas had caught on, if they had reached the mainstream, would it have been possible for those in power to let it slide? Or would they have done everything in their power to stop it before it spread too far? In a world where control is king, the last thing you want is people realizing they can rewrite the rules of reality. Reason number 10, the mysterious circumstances surrounding his disappearance. When you start looking into the disappearance of Jacobo Grinberg, the first thing that stands out is how bizarre and utterly confounding the whole situation is. It's not like he vanished in a way that makes sense. No clues, no signs of a struggle, no ransom note, nothing. Just a researcher deeply immersed in his groundbreaking work, and one day, he's gone. Completely, inexplicably gone. And the more you dig into the details, the stranger it becomes. There's a kind of eeriness that hangs over the case, as if there's something lurking beneath the surface that nobody wants to touch. One of the most puzzling things about Grinberg's disappearance is how it went almost unnoticed at first. Think about it, this wasn't just any scholar. He was a man on the cusp of unraveling profound mysteries about consciousness, perception, and reality itself. He was shaking up the foundations of what we think we know about the mind, and then, poof, he's gone. What's even stranger is that the whole thing happened in a way that seemed almost too clean. No mess. No noise. He simply vanished from his apartment in Mexico City without a trace. It's hard to imagine a scenario like this without considering the possibility of foul play. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance are so neat. There's no sign of forced entry into his apartment, no indication that there was any struggle. His things were left behind, untouched, as if he just walked out and never returned. And yet, there was no indication that he planned to leave. There were no strange calls, no messages, no goodbye notes. People close to him say that he was deeply involved in his research, working on something big. The kind of work that could change the way we understand the very fabric of reality. It doesn't make sense that someone so absorbed in their mission would just up and disappear, leaving all that behind. Unless, of course, someone made sure he didn't have the chance to continue. Then there's the timing. Grinberg's disappearance happened just as he was about to release more of his research that, if you really think about it, could have shaken up some pretty powerful systems. We're talking about studies on consciousness that went beyond the conventional, touching on the supernatural, the mystical, the unexplainable. His work didn't just challenge science, it threatened to dismantle entire worldviews. Could the timing of his disappearance be more than just a coincidence? Was there someone, or something, out there that had a vested interest in ensuring that his discoveries never saw the light of day? What adds even more layers to the mystery is the fact that there were reports that people in Grinberg's circle noticed things around the time of his disappearance that didn't quite add up. Some of his colleagues said he was acting strangely in the days leading up to his vanishing. Others reported that he'd been receiving unsettling phone calls, or that he'd started to seem more paranoid, like he was aware of some kind of impending danger. It wasn't just the strange behavior that raised eyebrows, it was the feeling that something was closing in on him. But even those closest to him couldn't put their finger on what that something was. And then there's the lack of an investigation. Or, more accurately, the way the investigation into his disappearance seemed to lose momentum. You'd think that someone with Grinberg's credentials, someone working on cutting-edge research, would have had more attention paid to his case. But that didn't happen. Authorities didn't seem all that concerned, and the investigation seemed to peter out as time went on. No real leads, no real breakthroughs. Just a quiet, steady slide into obscurity. It's almost as though someone, somewhere, was making sure this was one mystery that would stay buried. Perhaps the most unsettling part of it all is how Grinberg's disappearance remains a subject of hushed speculation. The more you look into it, the more you realize that there are many who don't want the truth to come out, if there even is a clear truth. Some people believe that he was silenced for what he was on the verge of revealing. Others think he might have stumbled too close to something dangerous, something that, once discovered, had to be hidden at all costs. It's the kind of thing that makes you question the very nature of what's possible. Was his disappearance the result of a random act of fate, or was it orchestrated by forces beyond his control, forces that didn't want his discoveries out in the world? When you start thinking about it in those terms, the circumstances surrounding his disappearance become a lot more chilling. The silence. The unanswered questions. The feeling that something was being actively hidden. Jacobo Grinberg wasn't just another researcher working on an obscure topic. He was a man on the brink of uncovering some of the most profound truths about consciousness, the mind, and reality. And now, years later, we're left with nothing but the eerie silence of his disappearance, and the unsettling sense that we may never know the full story behind what really happened. And that's where the mystery still lies, Jacobo Grinberg's sudden disappearance and the eerie possibility that he may have been silenced for uncovering truths that some weren't ready to hear. What do you think happened? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed exploring this mind-bending mystery, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more fascinating topics. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you, and remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction.